In front of the castle, the black mist was breaking apart and quickly recovering. Kill! The elites of the dragon-killing alliance charged toward the gap. Elder Bai, Zhang Yue, Old Su, and dozens of experts at the True Spirit Realm entered the battle. In the mist, Subdivision Leader Beatty waved his giant battle-axe and slashed the earth apart with unparalleled power. Next to Subdivision Leader Beatty were Palace Lord Yulong and a gray-robed elder, who were both at the late-stage True Lord rank, and they pushed Old Su and Zhang Yue back. 10,000 swords returning to one. Elder Bai shouted as she waved her sleeve, creating dazzling beams of light that condensed together and rained down upon Subdivision Leader Beatty. Ding! 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 Subdivision Leader Beatty waved his axe, blocking Elder Bai's attacks and sending sparks flying everywhere. In terms of numbers and top-level strength, the dragon-killing alliance had the advantage. However, the castle side didn't fear death, and the three people that blocked the way were all at least at the late-stage True Lord rank. Most importantly, the castle had that array, and the black mist was like a mote of death. Those under the True Spirit Realm couldn't block the power at all. The smallest touch would result in their flesh rotting and ultimately turning into a pile of white bones, becoming resources for the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array. Even those at the True Spirit Realm would be affected and lose some battle power. Normal True Human ranks would lose 50% of their strength in this mist, whereas those at the True Mystic rank would lose 20 to 30%. Those at the True Lord rank were the least affected, only losing about 10% of their battle strength. On the other side, the castle had dozens of figures at the True Spirit Realm. Incredibly, these people weren't affected by the black mist at all. He's indeed worthy of being a division leader, controlling the array so that only the enemy is affected. Lin Tong stood far away and admired without entering the battle. His eye bloodline could manage to barely see through the mist to the skeletal division leader within the depths of the castle. Whoosh! The black flag in front of the skeletal division leader kept on waving and controlling the black mist around the castle. Lin Tong was very careful, making sure not to look directly at the skeletal division leader in case he was detected. When one reached the level of a division leader, their methods couldn't be imagined. Killing a true mystic rank could be done with just a thought. Ding! Ding! Shoo! Pong! Bam! Boom! The two sides had started a red-hot battle near the gap. Elder Bai and Subdivision Leader Beatty's fight shook the heavens and earth. The surrounding 100 yards was an area of death. No one under the True Lord rank could survive there. Ding ding ding! Subdivision Leader Beatty was slowly forced into defense, waving his battle-axe to form an axe wall. This woman of the 10,000 sword clans so strong. Even Subdivision Leader Beatty is being suppressed by her. Palace Lord Yulong and the other late-stage True Lord rank were shocked. The battle between the two wasn't fair. Firstly, Elder Bai was affected by the Devouring Spirit 10,000 Withering Array and lost 5% of her full strength. Secondly, Beatty was a power-type cultivator who was currently defending. Elder Bai needed to clash with Subdivision Leader Beatty head-on, which was the most ineffective way. However, even then, she was suppressing Beatty. Compared to her, Zhao Feng had relied on speed, agility, and his bloodline power. If Zhao Feng was to clash with Subdivision Leader Beatty head-on, he would definitely lose. Yet Elder Bai had done what he couldn't have in this situation. Not bad, not bad. Your 10,000 sword technique should have been trained to the 14th level and has hope of catching up to that Nan Jianfeng from back then. The mysterious raspy voice sounded from the castle. Who the hell are you? Elder Bai's heart trembled faintly when she heard the words, Nan Jianfeng. Back then, Nan Jianfeng wasn't even 100 years old, and yet he was about to break through to the Origin Core realm to become the second Sword Saint. I paid a heavy price to kill him. The skeletal division leader's figure surfaced above the castle in a position where everyone could see him. Nan Jianfeng is my grandfather. So you're the culprit from the Scarlet Moon demonic religion that killed him? Elder Bai's face went cold as she slashed out sword beams full of killing intent toward the skeletal division leader in the air. The skeletal division leader laughed and waved his flag, creating a dragon of mist that burned with a scarlet-purple flame. Boom! The sword beams that Elder Bai slashed out were destroyed by the skeletal division leader in an instant. Dominating heaven limitless slash. Subdivision leader Beatty took this chance to send Elder Bai flying back dozens of yards. Shoo! Elder Bai's clothes ripped and a gash was left on her snow-white skin. Master! Song Yuyue exclaimed. Zhe. How dare you not pay attention in my devouring spirit 10,000 withering array? The skeletal division leader asked playfully. He kept on waving the flag and controlling the mist. The weird thing was that the skeletal division leader remained in the air above the castle and didn't pursue Elder Bai or anyone else. The situation isn't looking good for the dragon-killing alliance, and the Scarlet Moon demonic religion still has a division leader watching. Who knows what he's thinking? Lin Tong watched the battle with no signs of interfering. Although he was Zhao Feng's servant, no one could order him around. In front of the castle, Elder Bai had been lightly injured from diverting her attention, but she still attacked towards subdivision leader Beatty. However, it was clear that her battle power had decreased and she wasn't as casual as before. The gap in the mist is getting smaller and smaller. Old Su barely managed to withstand the other gray-robed late-stage True Lord rank, but he was still pushed back. Wu, the hole in the mist was quickly being fixed and it even started spreading outward. Everyone, get ready to retreat. Old Su's expression changed drastically. Even with such a good chance, the dragon-killing alliance couldn't break through the array. This meant that their chance of success would be even lower after the array was fixed. Furthermore, the skeletal division leader in the air was like an invisible mountain that made everyone else unable to breathe. The idea of actually fighting the skeletal division leader head-on was unthinkable. Hee, it's too late. The skeletal division leader waved the black flag and summoned flaming black mist from the sky into the gap. Boom! The flaming black mist started to form a triangle-shaped scarlet-purple fire wall that locked everyone within, blocking their path. Not good. The upper echelon of the dragon-killing alliance turned around and saw that the wall of fire blocked their exit. On top of that, the fire was controlled by the black flag, giving it more than 10 times the power of the normal black mist. There's no path of retreat. The upper echelon of the dragon-killing alliance had gray expressions. Normal true spirit realms would turn into a puddle of blood and water when they touched this black mist controlled by black flag, and the wall of fire behind them was even more terrifying because it contained the skeletal division leader's core flame. You're not at the half-step origin core realm. Elder Bai's face went pale white and she fell into despair. So that's how it is. The skeletal division leader's true aim is to finish off the entire upper echelon of the dragon-killing alliance at once. Lin Tong revealed a look of understanding. As for the skeletal division leader's cultivation, being part of the upper echelon of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, it wasn't surprising for him to have the cultivation of the origin core realm. Back then I was ranked middle-high among the 12 divisions. Even though I've only just woken up a couple years ago and haven't recovered yet, those at the half-step origin core realm still can't be compared to me. The skeletal division leader had a smug expression. He finally trapped the entire upper echelon of the dragon-killing alliance. At this point in time, the entire dragon-killing alliance, including Elder Bai, were in a life-or-death situation. Charging forward had no chance of victory. Retreating would only get closer to death. On top of that, the skeletal division leader hadn't even attacked yet. He had been planning the entire time. There's still one more. The red flames in the skeletal division leader's eyes seemed to jump around as he stared at Palace Lord Yulong. Division leader, what orders do you have? Palace Lord Yulong's hair stood on end after being looked at for so long. Was there something on his face? Lin Tong watched the scene without sympathy. Should I tell Zhao Feng? Lin Tong hesitated. He remembered what Zhao Feng told him before. You don't need to participate in the battle, but if the dragon-killing alliance is in danger, touch the dark heart seed in your mind. I will sense it and come help. The dark heart seed was a special mark Zhao Feng had left in Lin Tong's soul. This mark was different than the God's Eye mark because it focused mainly on controlling others. While Lin Tong was hesitating, meow meow, a small silver-gray cat appeared out of nowhere, climbed onto Lin Tong's shoulder and gently tapped his neck. Lin Tong's body froze and he smiled bitterly. He underestimated Zhao Feng. How could Zhao Feng not have a backup plan after giving Lin Tong such an important task? Without any more hesitation, he pushed his mental energy toward the dark heart seed. The skeletal division leader seemed to suddenly sense something and turned toward Lin Tong's direction as flames jumped around in his sockets. Shwa! A grand mental energy aura suddenly appeared in the sky above the castle. Even those at the True Lord rank felt unable to breathe. Who's there? The skeletal division leader's heart jumped. A large eye had appeared in the sky and seemed to coexist with heaven and earth as it looked down coldly upon him. That's... The hearts of the dragon-killing alliance experts shook, and they felt an urge to bow down. It's here again. Palace Lord Yulong hiccuped, obviously still having bad memories. Zhe. I've waited for you for a long time. The mark on Yulong is your doing, right? Although the skeletal division leader was shocked by how the Eye of Heaven appeared, he wasn't too surprised by it. Black mist surrounded the air above the castle. The gold and silver skeleton looked toward the Eye of Heaven. The skeletal division leader's bones stood out from the mist and red flames jumped in its eye sockets. It looked toward the Eye of Heaven without any fear. The Eye of Heaven coldly scanned the skeletal division leader for a breath or two before sounding, "So it's you. So it's you." This voice reverberated throughout the mental energy dimension and caused the others to break out into discussion. What's going on? Does Zhao Feng know the skeletal division leader? Wait, the skeletal division leader is a figure from several hundred years ago, and Zhao Feng's not even 20 years old. Both friend and foe alike were puzzled and shocked. Elder Bai, Old Su, and company finally had the time to let out a breath. On the other hand, Subdivision Leader Beatty and Palace Lord Yulong became wary. This lowered the pressure from the Iron Dragon Alliance. At this moment in time, Elder Bai felt a large mental energy pressure as she watched the Eye of Heaven. Could Zhao Feng's soul power already have surpassed hers? Zhao Feng's consciousness was in the clouds as he scanned downward. After the breakthrough of the God's spiritual eye and fully absorbing the wood spirit soul essence, my soul has broken through to a new level. Zhao Feng had a different feeling than before. In the past, whenever he used the Eye of Heaven, his energy would deplete quickly and would seem like it could disappear at any time. However, this time, the Eye of Heaven was more stable and condensed than before. You know me? Could it be? Flames seemed to jump up and down in the skeletal division leader's sockets as if it thought of something. That's right, Zhao Feng met the skeletal division leader before. Back then, in the Sky Cloud Forest, Zhao Feng scouted a skeleton that was abnormally weak. Zhao Feng still remembered the scene from that day. That skeleton left a mark on Zhao Feng that made him feel disgusted for a long time. After that, Zhao Feng used the dangerous power of the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground to break the mark, paying a heavy price and even falling backward in his cultivation. Zhe. Interesting. Maybe this is destiny. You've finally come after several years. The skeletal division leader seemed to remember something as well, and killing intent seemed to materialize from its eyes. Shwa! The skeletal division leader's figure suddenly disappeared with a flash. Dark Ghost Prison. The skeletal division leader opened its mouth. For balls of weird, ghastly flame appeared, each one around 2 yards in diameter, and released a terrifying aura. Wang, Cho. The 4 balls of weird, ghastly flame started to send out lines of green aura that formed a prison, which captured the Eye of Heaven. Not good, the upper echelon from the Dragon-Killing Alliance exclaimed. The skeletal division leader seemed to be ready for the Eye of Heaven, and it used a mysterious technique. In the sky, the auras of the 4 ghastly flame balls started to rise rapidly and reach the True Lord rank. They weren't made of flesh and blood. They were of a spiritual form. In terms of physical attacks, the 4 ghastly flame balls weren't even as strong as normal true spirit realms, but they excelled in mental energy attacks. At this point in time, the 4 balls of flame created a prison that enveloped the Eye of Heaven. Zhe. The Dark Ghost Prison is specifically made for countering spiritual forms and can deal a lot of damage to them. For example, if a ghost came here, they wouldn't be able to escape. The skeletal division leader laughed weirdly. A dark red flame spun out from its eye socket and went into the dark ghost prison. "I'll make sure that you won't be able to return either." The deep, raspy voice sounded across the castle. The Eye of Heaven didn't move within the prison. The skeletal division leader released sizzles of dark red flame that quickly eroded the Eye of Heaven. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline does make others sigh with awe. Unfortunately, this skeletal division leader specializes in the soul, and it was a sovereign at its peak. Lin Tong watched this battle with sympathy. Although he was under Zhao Feng's control and admired the latter's power, Lin Tong had to admit Zhao Feng had met his match. This skeletal division leaders also learned some theory of the Tao of the soul. Zhao Feng's consciousness was in the sky, and this prison gave him an uneasy feeling. The wisps of dark red flame seemed to contain a terrifying power. Zhao Feng did nothing, possibly because there was nothing he could do. "Go division leader." Palace Lord Yulong was overjoyed and relieved. The clashes from before caused Palace Lord Yulong to fear Zhao Feng, so the appearance of the Eye of Heaven this time made him uneasy. "Zhao Feng, although you're very talented and you're an overwhelming prodigy, meeting a division leader of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion means you're unlucky." Palace Lord Yulong and company felt relieved. The current scene made them all feel safe and happy. Ever since they had come to the cloud area, this youth was like a god that forced the Iron Dragon Alliance into a terrible situation. And now, this nightmare-like existence was about to disappear. "Junior, do you think you can interrupt me with just this measly technique? What do you have to say before you die?" The skeletal division leader asked smugly. It had calculated how to defeat the entire upper echelon of the dragon-killing alliance at once, and it obviously didn't forget Zhao Feng. The skeletal division leader had already sensed the god's eye mark on Palace Lord Yulong, but he didn't dissolve it. However, the Eye of Heaven had a playfulness about it. The skeletal division leader suddenly realized something. The Eye of Heaven didn't even try to struggle or fight with the dark ghost prison at all. Azure Eye Piercing Slash. The Eye of Heaven suddenly shot out two beams of azure light. The next instant, two half-transparent blades of wind were like swords as they flew down. Arg! Blood splattered from two figures next to the castle. Plop! Plop! These two figures were slashed in half and fell into a puddle of their own blood. How? How? Palace Lord Yulong's body was cut in two and his face was still full of unwillingness and fear. On the other side, the late-stage true Lord rank gray-robed elder had a puzzled expression. He had never seen Zhao Feng's eye bloodline before, and he died with open eyes. This sudden change made many people present take in a cold breath. Instantly killing two late-stage true Lord ranks simultaneously? Zhao Feng's eye bloodline has already reached this level. Lin Tong was stunned as he stood unmoving. On top of the castle, the skeletal division leader's expression froze and it was flabbergasted. Why is it like this? How can it ignore the dark ghost prison? Is this eye not a normal spiritual form? The Eye of Heaven slaying two true Lord ranks shocked the skeletal division leader as well, but what it really didn't understand was how the Eye of Heaven was even existing right now. The Eye of Heaven seemed to be part of the heaven and earth and just an image of the real thing. The true consciousness wasn't here. Wind, lightning, fire, eye. The large eye suddenly shot out a half-transparent flame made of wind and lightning. Boom! One of the four balls of ghastly flame started to burn a different color and it seemed to screech. On top of that, the fire from the eye continued through the ghastly flame and landed in the castle. Whoosh! A certain place in the depths of the castle started to burn, making the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array tremble and become chaotic. Not good. The eye of the array is burning. The skeletal division leader finally started to panic. Once the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array was broken, he would face the combined attacks of several thousand elites of the dragon-killing alliance. This stronghold would also be destroyed. Shwa! After completing this, the Eye of Heaven started to fade and disappear from the sky. The skeletal division leader let out a breath. Luckily, the energy required to use this skill was too much and it couldn't be used continuously. So, the skeletal division leader returned to the castle and started to wave the array flag and fix the eye of the array. Everyone, this is our chance to destroy the array. Old Su's eyes lit up and shouted. He had a clear grasp of the situation. While the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array was unstable, it was the easiest chance to break through it. Furthermore, Zhao Feng didn't destroy the triangle-shaped firewall behind them. This was probably his intention too. Zhao Feng helped them attack, but he didn't want the dragon-killing alliance to retreat. Luckily, the two late-stage True Lord ranks were dead and only subdivision leader Beatty was left to defend. The army instantly had the advantage. Kill! Attack the castle and destroy the array. Elder Bai, Song Yue, and company unleashed a barrage of attacks. Ding ding ding. Subdivision leader Beatty waved his axe and was forced to defend as the companions next to him died. Luckily, the skeletal division leader could also give him some support while it was fixing the eye of the array, or else the subdivision leader wouldn't even be able to last 10 breaths. At the same time, several thousand miles away, on a large green-gold bird, Shua, Zhao Feng's consciousness returned to his body and he let out a light breath. Chapter Leader Zhao, what was that just now? Dai Yi asked curiously. In the last couple breaths, Zhao Feng had entered a unique state, and his mental energy aura made the two's hearts shake. Zhao Feng's Eye of Heaven had only been truly used in the Purple Saint ruins. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi didn't understand it. It's more complicated than I thought. The division leader of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion was most likely a sovereign at the Origin Core realm at its peak. I will go there myself first. What? Division leader of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion? Origin Core realm sovereign? Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi were instantly shocked and couldn't accept this reality right away. Shua! Before his words were even finished, a blurry arc of lightning already flashed into the skies. In the barren desert where the castle was located, the black mist started to stabilize after some intense shaking. The skeletal division leader let out a breath, not re-entering the battle. Instead, it controlled the black flag, using the black mist to fix the cracks in the array. It placed great importance on the eye of the array, which was damaged by the Eye of Heaven. However, the experts of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion were currently being pushed back. Elder Bai and Song Yue's sword attacks destroyed everything in their path. Subdivision leader Beatty's half-dead and rotting body had more than a dozen gashes, which were so deep that one could see the bones. Put in some more effort and kill the subdivision leader now, or else it'll become more troublesome once the array is fully repaired. Old Su and the Dragon-Killing Alliance unleashed barrages of attacks. Ding ding boom bam, subdivision leader Beatty's injuries continued to get worse, and over half of his companions were dead. So, subdivision leader Beatty's figure suddenly flashed, leading the remaining people back to the castle without any regard for defense. Kill him. He's only got one breath left in him. The experts of the Dragon-Killing Alliance charged into the castle. Unexpectedly, the skeletal division leader continued fixing the array and didn't bother them. The sound of battle appeared once more as they charged into the castle. The castle was filled with white bones. The occasional corpse, skeleton, or ghost would appear. These ghosts are a source of power for the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array. Kill as many as you can. Elder Bai ordered. The killing extended throughout the castle as everyone headed toward the eye of the array. Zhao Feng's already told us where the eye of the array is with his eye flame. Old Su's eyes were bright. The group reached their destination, where they saw subdivision leader Beatty and 3 balls of ghastly flame next to the eye of the array. Kill them, then take care of the division leader. Elder Bai didn't fear anything given how strong she was. Next to her was Song Yue. Although her cultivation just reached the half-step True Lord rank, her sword intent was extremely powerful and her battle power was slightly better than normal early-stage True Lord ranks. However, the 3 balls of ghastly flame next to subdivision leader Beatty weren't easy to take care of either, or else they wouldn't have been used in an attempt to counter the Eye of Heaven. Woo woo! The 3 balls of ghastly flame sent out beams of transparent green flames and a round of mental energy attacks that made the Dragon-Killing Alliance panic. Luckily, Song Yue and Elder Bai were experts who had comprehended sword intent, which could attack the spiritual dimension. Arg! A ghastly flame was soon destroyed by Song Yue and the other 2 were badly damaged. Old Su nodded his head in admiration. The two from the 10,000 Sword Clan had done a lot. Zhe. Game over. A deep, raspy laugh reverberated across the castle. Shua. The skeletal division leader held its black flag and flashed to where everyone was at. It managed to fix the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array. The hearts of the dragon-killing alliance members shook. This division leader finally made its move. Spawn from the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, die. Elderby waved her robe and destroyed another ghastly flame before clashing with the skeletal division leader. 10,000 sword destruction. Elderby's attack created thousands of sharp sword lights that twisted and turned in the air, destroying everything in their path. At this point in time, Elderby's power had reached a level that exceeded the True Lord rank level and, in terms of pure battle power, was comparable to the half-step origin core realm. Zhe. Indeed worthy of being Nan Jianfeng's descendant. The skeletal division leader was slightly surprised. It waved the black flag in its hand with a hoo, devouring the last ball of ghastly fire into the black mist. Wu, the ball of ghastly fire that was devoured turned into a dark flaming orb, about 20 to 30 yards wide, and it was filled with limitless black mist and fire that started to spread. Wang. Elderbai's attack clashed with the dark flaming orb and a soul-shaking boom sounded. A breath later, the dark flaming orb started to shake. It seemed to sync up with the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array, increasing in power. Bam bam. Elderbai's attack was devoured by the flaming black orb and her face went white. Not good, the experts from the Dragon-Killing Alliance exclaimed. Wu, the dark flaming orb started to extend to 70 or 80 yards, merging with the array like a black umbrella-shaped screen. The Dragon-Killing Alliance group was slowly being closed in on by this black umbrella-shaped screen. Zhe. This dark ghost night is my second plan to finish off all those who dared to come in the castle. The skeletal division leader laughed and waved its black flag to control the dark flaming orb, making it push everyone down to the ground. 10,000 swords into one. Heavenly despair chaotic style. Break. The group did their best to fight back. However, when their attacks got close, they would be absorbed by the dark flaming orb and turned into energy. What you're doing is useless. My dark ghost knight is in sync with the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array and has infinite power. The skeletal division leader waved its black flag and said smugly, Arg. Ah! There were already figures being swallowed by the dark ghost knight. Only Elder Bai, Song Yue, and Old Su could manage to resist, but they obviously couldn't last long. A weird sound appeared outside the castle at this moment. Chio, a gust of wind and a hum of lightning appeared from the edge of the sky. Everyone, don't worry. A pair of wings, formed from wind and lightning, flapped behind a blue-haired youth's back, and they were in sync with the wind-lightning Yuan Qi in the air. He was like a descending god of lightning. Shua. The pair of wings behind Zhao Feng started to fade, and a ball of wind and lightning started to condense in his palm. Wind-lightning tornado. The ball of wind and lightning started to rapidly expand. The center became infinitely deep as it spun downward with arcs of lightning. He's faster than I thought. The skeletal division leader was slightly surprised. Shua. A gold and silver bone whip appeared in the skeletal division leader's other hand. With a flick, a red-purple flame appeared, forming a bone dragon that clashed with the wind-lightning tornado. Boom bam! The wind-lightning tornado and the bone dragon clashed together, making the castle's array tremble slightly. What kind of inheritance did this brat get? How can a measly early-stage True Lord rank have such strong battle power? The skeletal division leader's expression became slightly solemn as it flicked its gold and silver whip out many times, creating fiery bone dragons one after another. Wind and lightning crackling strike. Zhao Feng swiped his hand and a large blade of wind and lightning, more than a dozen yards long, flashed through the air toward the skeletal division leader. The skeletal division leader controlled the black flag with one hand and used the bone whip to fight Zhao Feng with the other. Bam! Boom! Zhao Feng's wind and lightning crackling strike could kill normal late-stage True Lord ranks, but it was easily dissolved by the skeletal division leader. The skeletal division leader had reached a profound level. Its every breath and action seemed to merge with the heaven-earth Yuan Qi, and it was extremely similar to Lu Tianyi in the Purple Saint ruins. He has the comprehension of an origin core realm sovereign, but the skeletal division leader's body is too weak, so it can only use 30 to 40% of its maximum strength. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye inspected the skeletal division leader once more. In reality, the Eye of Heaven already performed an inspection, so Zhao Feng had an estimation of the skeletal division leader's strength. However, even then, the skeletal division leader was able to suppress Elder by Zhang Yue Old Su, and another dozen or two true spirit realm experts on top of fighting Zhao Feng. Looks like normal attacks aren't enough. It can continuously absorb the heaven-earth Yuan Qi at a level that the true spirit realm can't be compared to. Zhao Feng wasn't too surprised. After exiting seclusion, Zhao Feng's breakthrough in his eye allowed his battle power to reach the peak True Lord rank. When he fully circulated it, it was comparable to the half-step origin core realm. However, this wasn't his biggest improvement. Shua! A pair of wings made of wind and lightning appeared behind Zhao Feng, and, with a gentle flutter, allowed him to retreat a mile away in just a couple breaths. He then stood there while the color of his eye started to change and his hair blew in the wind. Changing eye powers? The skeletal division leader revealed a look of shock. In just half a breath, Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye turned azure. The azure left eye was like a limitless abyss, releasing a rising, terrifying aura. At this point in time, the mental energy pressure from Zhao Feng became stronger and stronger, even surpassing the limits of the three heavens of the true spirit realm. Such a strong soul. It's almost at a sovereign's level. The skeletal division leader's expression changed dramatically, but it suppressed the uneasiness in its heart. Although it was an origin core realm sovereign at its peak and had a soul that was also at the sovereign level, it was currently in a weakened state, and its soul was nowhere near as strong as before. The time Zhao Feng took was more than twice as long as usual. Wind lightning God's flame. Zhao Feng's left eye sparkled with a wisp of purple. Whoosh! A dragon-shaped half-transparent flame of wind and lightning seemed to teleport as it landed on the skeletal division leader. Sii. The skeletal division leader harumphed as half its body was hit by the fire. Lightning crackled around it, and this power even eroded its soul. Zhao Feng's soul had surpassed the half-step origin core realm and was almost at the sovereign level. The power of his eye was displayed in the spiritual dimension. This attack damaged the skeletal division leader. Shoo! With the skeletal division leader dazed, the dark ghost knight screen was ripped apart by two terrifying sword blows. Spawn of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, die! Elder Bai and Zhang Yue charged upward and sent piercing strikes toward the skeletal division leader. Spawn of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, die! Elder Bai and Zhang Yue charged up from below, forming a pincer attack with Zhao Feng in the air. The situation flipped in the blink of an eye. The skeletal division leader roared, and a layer of bone-chilling dark flames managed to barely put out the wind lightning god's flame. However, the injury to its soul couldn't be healed so quickly. Before it could react, Zhao Feng's left eye turned a cold blue. The second eye bloodline technique was prepared. Ice soul shooting line. A transparent beam, half a human thick, passed through the skeletal division leader's body. The skeletal division leader experienced extreme cold after scorching fire, and it was damaged even more. The ice soul shooting line was a mental energy attack. The stronger one's soul and eye bloodline power were, the stronger the attack. With Zhao Feng's current soul strength, his ice soul shooting line could freeze almost any true lord rank. Even those at the half-step origin core realm would find it hard to block. However, the skeletal division leader was a sovereign at its peak. Its soul and comprehension weren't something a true lord rank or half-step origin core realm could be compared to. After taking this attack head-on, the skeletal division leader's body and soul were damaged by the cold, but it wasn't critically injured. Indeed worthy of being a sovereign. Zhao Feng wasn't surprised. His aim was only to slow down the skeletal division leader, so that it would be unable to evade Elder Bai and Zhang Yue's attacks. Shoo shoo shoo, the layer of black flames around the skeletal division leader was slashed open and started to fade. Ding! A faint mark was left on the gold and silver bones. What? Elder Bai and Song Yue's expressions changed dramatically. The skeletal division leader's body was stronger than they imagined, able to take their attacks head-on. Humph! It's just a bluff. Zhao Feng snickered coldly as his god's spiritual eye turned azure. Azure eye piercing slash. His left eye glittered with a piercing sharpness. Bam! A large half-transparent blade of wind hit the skeletal division leader's wrist joint. Crack! The skeletal division leader's body trembled and its joint broke, dropping the gold and silver bone whip. Attack the joints. Elder Bai and Song Yue both understood. Although the body of the skeletal division leader was extremely strong and could resist normal true lord rank attacks, it wasn't as if there weren't any flaws, and no flaw could escape Zhao Feng's eye. Ignorant brat! The skeletal division leader roared and summoned a gust of gray wind with its other hand in order to pull its fallen hand and whip back toward it. It snickered coldly in its heart. With its secret technique, it could reconnect its hand in an instant. If it didn't have such methods, the skeletal division leader wouldn't have survived the purge from back then. Meow meow! A little silver-gray thieving cat flashed through the air and smiled toward the skeletal division leader. The skeletal division leader paused. Shwa! A silver-striped whip suddenly shot out and wrapped itself around the hand and the gold and silver whip. Fucking cat, stay! The skeletal division leader reacted and howled. His hand wasn't the only thing taken. The gold and silver whip wasn't a normal item. Meow meow! The little thieving cat played with the gold and silver bone whip with excitement as it put the original silver-striped whip away. The skeletal division leader almost exploded from anger and its entire body trembled with a dark light. The little thieving cat remained unmoved and even licked the bone whip. The skeletal division leader was about to charge up to the cat, but at that moment, Zhao Feng, Elder Bai, and Song Yue all attacked. Even old Su came to help. Ding ding bam, the skeletal division leader was knocked around. With a ding, Elder Bai and Song Yue almost broke off the skeletal division leader's leg. If this continued, the skeletal division leader's body would be broken even if it won. Fucking cat! The skeletal division leader was as angry as thunder. It had never felt so humiliated before. Eye of Ice Soul! Zhao Feng saw that the skeletal division leader was about to go into a rage, and his left eye once more changed color. With the lockdown of the Eye of Ice Soul, the skeletal division leader's bones became stiffer, and its thoughts and body were affected as well. 10,000 Sword Destruction. Heavenly Despair Slaughter Sword. Without hesitation, Elder Bai and Song Yue unleashed powerful attacks that landed onto the skeletal division leader. At this instant, sword marks were left all over the skeletal division leader's body, especially the areas close to its joints. However, Zhao Feng's Eye of Ice Soul had locked on to the skeletal division leader, so it couldn't become angry even if it wished to. The speed of its thoughts was only 50 to 60% as fast as usual. Normal True Lord ranks would become as slow as a turtle under Zhao Feng's Eye of Ice Soul. Junior, you're courting death, the skeletal division leader howled, its voice resounding in the soul dimension. A fire twitched in its eye socket as a wicked and evil mental energy aura started to be unleashed. Dark Ghost Death Claws. The skeletal division leader swiped its hand and a room-sized dark red claw descended toward Zhao Feng. The instant the Dark Ghost Death Claw was summoned, every true spirit realm cultivator felt their hearts go cold, and they felt the aura of death pass by. What a terrifying soul attack! Elder Bai and Old Su revealed looks of shock. The claw had a glow of red light to it, and before it even got close, Zhao Feng felt a coldness in his soul. No one under the Origin Core realm can remain unharmed in front of this attack. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye locked on to the Dark Ghost Death Claw. Shoo! He remained still and let the Dark Ghost Death Claw pass through his body. Bo! In the dimension of his left eye, the shape of a claw slashed through the lake. Hee hee! I've never been injured by mental energy attacks before. Zhao Feng wasn't surprised. The god's spiritual eye was almost fully resilient to normal mental energy attacks or illusions. Furthermore, his soul had reached a level almost comparable to the Origin Core realm, and it was probably even stronger than the current skeletal division leaders. What? His eye bloodline is almost fully resilient to normal soul attacks. Waves roiled around in the skeletal division leader's heart. It knew very clearly how much power that attack contained. Even those at the half-step origin core realm couldn't retreat fully unharmed. Ding ding pong. Bam. The group managed to successfully surround the skeletal division leader, unleashing a wave of attacks. The skeletal division leader's movements were slow due to the Eye of Ice Soul, and it roared at these attacks. Boom, the devouring spirit 10,000 withering array suddenly shook and shattered. Someone destroyed the eye of the array and, in just an instant, the black mist surrounding the castle disappeared, allowing the sunlight from the outside world to shine in. The skeletal division leader's expression was grim, and it knew that the battle was lost. So it started to shout, "Juniors, the Scarlet Moon's sacred religion will rule the continent once more. You shall not escape this fate." Wang, the skeletal division leader's injured body suddenly unleashed a ring of gold and silver flames that caused its aura to rise rapidly. As if it was a true sovereign who, the powerful aura seemed to rule the heaven and earth, forcing everyone back. Immediately following that, the bones of the skeletal division leader dimmed as it flashed out of the castle with a wave of gold and silver flames. Cho! In just a couple breaths, the streak of fire reached the ends of the desert. Old Su and company within the castle let out a long breath. Plop! Plop! Elder Bai and Song Yue both fell to the ground with weak auras. After this fight, and using all kinds of secret techniques, the experts present were exhausted. We finally won. After this battle, the skeletal division leader will be extremely weak, and will need at least a year or two to recover. Old Su sighed. Everyone present felt as if they escaped death. Who would have thought that there would be a division leader of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion here? For most people, surviving was already extremely lucky. Thank you, everyone, for your help. Leave the rest to me. A calm and peaceful voice sounded from above the castle. Everyone paused and looked up toward the floating blue-haired youth. Many hearts shook at this point in time. This youth played a key part in why they weren't dead, even emerging victorious instead. Zhao Feng was the only one unharmed in the castle. Zhao Feng, you're going to chase the division leader by yourself? Song Yue gritted her teeth and tried to stand up. Brother Zhao, we should plan this out. Old Su persuaded. Elder Bai had a complex expression. Zhao Feng, I don't recommend you chase either. The skeletal division leader was a sovereign at its peak, and it definitely has strong life-saving methods up its sleeve. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. I can only leave the cloud area without worry after finishing this. If you really want to pursue the skeletal division leader, we can do it after we've recovered. After all, that skeletal division leader is an enemy of mine. Elder Bai said solemnly. Hearing this, everyone nodded their heads. The trail will grow colder the longer we stall. Thank you for all your good intentions, but I am enough. Zhao Feng shook his head and smiled. Wang, a pair of wings made of wind and lightning appeared behind his back, causing the wind and lightning Yuan Qi to resonate. I am enough. Waves roiled around in the hearts of Old Su and company after hearing this. Zhao Feng is so confident that he can kill the skeletal division leader alone? Elder Bai and Song Yue looked at each other with shock. Cho! With a flap of the wings, Zhao Feng turned into a streak of lightning that flashed through the air, about the same speed as the skeletal division leader. Within the castle, the people weren't able to calm down as they looked at Zhao Feng flying away. He's indeed worthy of being an overwhelming prodigy. How many more methods has he not used yet? Elder Bai sighed. Yu Tianhao, Zhao Feng, and the other prodigies, I will challenge you all when I return. Song Yue's beautiful eyes were filled with steadiness and full of battle intent. 5 or 6 days later, in the depths of the sky-cloud forest, Chiu, a streak of wind and lightning flashed through the forest, causing the nearby beasts to tremble in fear. A couple breaths later, the streak of wind and lightning stopped on top of a large nearby tree. On the tree, a blue-haired youth was puffing gently as the pair of wind and lightning wings faded. His left eye scanned across the area, looking for any remaining aura nearby. Even the smallest details, such as the dust floating in the air or the change in the heaven-earth Yuan Qi, couldn't escape his eye. Here, Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised as he looked forward. In front of the forest was a small stream, and opposite the stream was a small canyon. Zhao Feng remembered this canyon. Back then, he was forced into desperation here when Ran Xiaoyuan and a couple other disciples fortunately came and killed the wolf, allowing Zhao Feng to escape. He didn't think that he would arrive here when pursuing the enemy. Over the past couple days, Zhao Feng chased the skeletal division leader. The latter's strength was unfathomable and, even though Zhao Feng comprehended the inheritance of the Wind Lightning Emperor who specialized in speed, Zhao Feng still found it hard to catch up. If it weren't for the fact that Zhao Feng had cultivated the beginning stages of the wings of wind and lightning, he would have lost track of the skeletal division leader long ago. Luckily, although he didn't have the advantage in speed, his god spiritual eye allowed him to lock on to the skeletal division leader. With his powerful soul and mental energy level, Zhao Feng's energy soon recovered. "You're just ahead. Let's see how much further you can run." Zhao Feng snickered coldly as he reactivated the pair of wings and flew over the canyon. He passed by the canyon and delved further into the forest. The forest suddenly became darker and more mysterious. Could it be that place? Zhao Feng's heart shook as he glanced toward the depths of the forest. Through his god's spiritual eye's analysis, he could tell which direction the skeletal division leader was going, and that place was somewhere even Zhao Feng was wary of. If he didn't need to, he wouldn't go in. Right now is the best chance to kill the skeletal division leader. He's injured and tired. Zhao Feng radiated killing intent as he continued further in. At the same time, within a misty area where sight was blocked. A tattered skeleton that was surrounded by a layer of dark, twitching flames appeared. "That blue-haired brat's locked on to me and just won't go away." The skeletal division leader gritted its teeth in hatred. Over the last few days, he tried everything to escape Zhao Feng. For example, expending more yuan qi and increasing in speed. It would temporarily be twice as fast as Zhao Feng. It would also use secret techniques that would hide its trail and create false auras that would attempt to trick the enemy. However, no matter what it did, it couldn't throw off Zhao Feng. In the last 2 days, it thought that it had successfully thrown off Zhao Feng, so it let out a breath and hid in a concealed place to try to heal. However, an hour after that, the Eye of Heaven appeared out of nowhere and sent a burning flame into its soul, deepening its wounds. "I'm almost at the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground. The number of experts that can enter here and survive can be counted with one hand." The skeletal division leader snickered as its surrounding flames lit up and it passed through the mist. A while later, the skeletal division leader came to an area of bones. There was a mysterious power that filled the air. There were 100 graves surrounding the ground in the middle. At the very center was a stone stand similar to an altar. Even someone as strong as the skeletal division leader felt uneasy and cold as it entered the place. It then carefully took out a broken piece of bloodjade. Even sovereigns can't block the curse easily if they come here. Luckily, I've been here with the patriarch before and have methods to counter it. The skeletal division leader sat in the middle of the ground, but it didn't dare go too close to the graves. After entering the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground, the skeletal division leader's heart finally relaxed. It wasn't scared of Zhao Feng coming. It was even looking forward to his arrival. If he came, the curse alone would be a hassle. According to what it knew, only a handful of sovereigns could retreat fully unharmed from here. Average sovereigns would need to pay a price to enter here. Half the time it took to make tea later. Chio! The sound of wind and lightning appeared from the misty zone outside. "He's here!" The skeletal division leader's heart thumped with joy. Couldn't wait till Zhao Feng came in. "Hee, I'm coming in." A light laugh sounded from the misty zone as he entered the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground. As soon as the words were said, a blue-haired youth floated into the place. The power of the curse attempted to erode Zhao Feng. Humph! Zhao Feng's left pupil contracted and unleashed a wisp of terrifying aura that belonged to the ancient times, causing the curse to crumble. That kid really dares to come here? What? Aura of ancient times? The skeletal division leader's ass almost burned from sitting down as it watched Zhao Feng arrogantly charge in. In terms of facing the curse from this place, Zhao Feng was much more relaxed than the skeletal division leader. He didn't even need to do anything, while the skeletal division leader needed to pay attention to the curse. This meant that Zhao Feng's battle power wasn't restricted, whereas the skeletal division leader's was. This sudden and unexpected change almost made the skeletal division leader cough out blood. Wind, lightning, crackling strike. Without saying anything, Zhao Feng instantly attacked. Boom! A large blade of wind and lightning slashed toward the skeletal division leader. After losing the gold and silver whip, the skeletal division leader could only use its remaining arm to clash with Zhao Feng's blow head-on. Ding! The skeletal division leader was pushed back a couple steps, and a few scorch marks were left on its body, but it wasn't very injured. Skeletal division leader, let's see how long you can last with that tattered body. Zhao Feng smiled and said with utter confidence. Over the past couple days, Zhao Feng's battle power was almost comparable to the half-step origin core realm. Zhao Feng had started to use the techniques from the Wind Lightning Stone tablet in actual battle. With every action, he would cause the lightning yuan qi nearby to howl and whistle. Furthermore, the power of every move could strengthen over time the more he fought. In terms of the soul, Zhao Feng was comparable to the origin core realm. This was because of the wood spirit soul essence's effect and the one with nature intent he learned from Xian Wuheng. In terms of intent, he was also close to the peak True Lord rank. This allowed Zhao Feng to have battle power near the limit of the True Lord rank, even though he was only at the early stage True Lord rank. Junior, don't get arrogant. You can't defeat me. The skeletal division leader's expression was grim. His battle power was weaker than 5 or 6 days ago. On the contrary, Zhao Feng's battle power rose as he continued to perfect it in real battle. Pung pung pung. The skeletal division leader retreated, unable to keep up with Zhao Feng's barrage. The skeletal division leader could take Zhao Feng's normal attacks head-on, but Zhao Feng kept using eye bloodline techniques during critical moments, which would injure the skeletal division leader's soul even more. The skeletal division leader's hidden techniques were mainly ghost techniques that were extremely infuriating for normal experts. But unfortunately for it, Zhao Feng was resilient toward mental energy attacks. With Zhao Feng's soul almost at the origin core realm level, some of the skeletal division leader's killing moves were useless. I can only use that move then. The skeletal division leader suddenly gritted its teeth and took out a ring of gold and silver. In that instant, the skeletal division leader's aura rose half a level and caused the heaven-earth yuan qi to tremble. This powerful aura exceeded the True Lord rank and was possibly comparable to its peak power. Using its life force, Zhao Feng's heart dropped and his expression changed. Ghost Bone Giant Spirit. The skeletal division leader's aura was completely comparable to a sovereign, and its bones suddenly started to grow. In just a moment's time, the skeletal division leader's bones were several stories high and intertwined with black flames. In front of it, Zhao Feng seemed like a child. Furthermore, the skeletal division leader's tattered body seemed to merge into the ground beneath him and absorb a power which it used to recover. Die! The skeletal division leader's aura was magnificent. Its every action seemed to be the center of the world. Under this state, its battle power doubled and it could kill peak True Lord ranks in one hit. Even if Elder Bai came, she probably wouldn't be able to block one punch from the skeletal division leader. What terrifying power! Lu Tianyi from the Pure Moon spiritual sect was only at this level. Zhao Feng's heart trembled. In this critical moment, he didn't retreat. A tinge of insanity appeared in his eyes as the bloodline in his entire body started to tremble with excitement, turning a bone-chilling blue. Ice Imperial Spear. Zhao Feng clasped his hands together and a transparent shadow of the Ice Imperial Spear appeared. Wang. The air seemed to tremble as an indescribable coldness started to freeze the area. Not good. How is this possible? The shadow of an Earth-grade weapon. The skeletal division leader's terrifying punch started to slow down and freeze after it was punched out. It started to shout. Panic and fear appeared in its eyes as it watched Zhao Feng circulate his bloodline power and summon the ice-blue spear shadow. During the time that the skeletal division leader panicked, Zhao Feng fully circulated his bloodline power and thrusted his palms forward. Shoo! The shadow of the Ice Imperial Spear radiated an ancient majestic aura that seemed to extend throughout limitless ice. Crack! The incomplete Earth-grade weapon destroyed the skeletal division leader's attack with ease and proceeded forward, freezing its body. The skeletal division leader's face was full of fear and it tried to retreat, but its movements were abnormally slow. Die! Zhao Feng circulated his bloodline power to maintain the spear shadow and thrust it out a second time. A mysterious ice-blue light swept across the area. Crack! The last remaining arm of the skeletal division leader was instantly frozen, shattering into pieces. At this moment in time, it had lost both arms and only had a body and legs. Stop, you can't do this! As the skeletal division leader started to freeze, its eye sockets radiated fear. It used a secret technique to squeeze out even more of its life force. Zhao Feng tried his best to continue maintaining the shadow of the spear, but it was becoming unstable. The feeling of his power draining was extremely obvious. I can't maintain it for long. As time passes, my control of it will decrease. Shua! Zhao Feng smiled faintly and stopped his bloodline, retracting the ice-blue spear shadow. Wind, lightning, destruction. Zhao Feng radiated a brilliant glow of wind and lightning, condensing it into a ball. Wu, the ball of wind and lightning suddenly exploded, sending waves of wind and lightning across a dozen yards. With a boom, the skeletal division leader's frozen body was blasted into the graves below. This attack almost broke the skeletal division leader into pieces. Could you really have an incomplete Earth-grade item? The skeletal division leader's bones were almost broken and it tried to struggle. It was utterly stunned. If Zhao Feng was able to use the Earth-grade weapon shadow a third time, that would be enough to kill it. However, Zhao Feng didn't do this, retracting his bloodline power instead. In reality, Zhao Feng could manage a third blow if he wanted to, but that would drain his bloodline power. Shua! Zhao Feng's figure flashed and landed amongst the graves where he smashed his foot on top of the skeletal division leader's head. Brat! Do what you want. If you want to kill me, then do so. Although the skeletal division leader felt extremely humiliated and angry, he didn't struggle much. He had lost to Zhao Feng utterly. When the shadow of the Earth-grade weapon appeared, the victor was decided. Unless it was a sovereign at their peak state, no one could face such power. I can't let it off that easily. Zhao Feng squinted his eyes and scanned over the body of the gold and silver body of the skeletal division leader. Zhao Feng knew how tough and strong these bones were. This was the body of a sovereign, someone who had taken the attacks from Elder Bai and Cong Yue head-on. Zhao Feng was thinking about whether or not to turn this skeletal division leader into a skeleton ghost corpse. Even if he didn't, this pile of bones was a great material for crafting ghost corpses. This was why Zhao Feng didn't attack the skeletal division leader a third time with the Earth-grade weapon. Skeletal division leader, you currently have two choices. The first is to die and become material for my ghost corpses. The second is to become my slave. Zhao Feng was very straightforward. You shameless brat! The skeletal division leader roared and struggled, but Zhao Feng's foot was on its head. It would only take a single thought for Zhao Feng to kill the skeletal division leader. The skeletal division leader's battle power was not even 10% of its peak, so it couldn't resist. It wasn't as if the skeletal division leader didn't want to use a secret technique or run, but once it thought of the enemy's terrifying eye bloodline and his resilience toward mental energy, the skeletal division leader felt helpless. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye was locked on to the skeletal division leader. If the latter made any suspicious movement, he would use an eye fire and end its life immediately. The skeletal division leader knew this as well. Junior, I don't believe that you will use my body for crafting corpses. Do you even know the first thing about ghost corpses? The skeletal division leader gave up struggling and a tinge of cunning appeared in its eye sockets. It negotiated using the last thing of value to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng had stated that he would use the skeletal division leader's body if it died, and the skeletal division leader questioned him about this. If this statement was false, then Zhao Feng wouldn't kill it so easily. No one would be willing to kill a sovereign like that. Shua! Shua! Two dark silver ghost corpses appeared on Zhao Feng's left and right. Their auras had reached the early-stage True Lord rank. The skeletal division leader's eye sockets twinkled. He could obviously tell the strength of these two. Furthermore, a small black pearl in Zhao Feng's hand caught the skeletal division leader's attention. The two dark silver ghost corpses were taken out from this black pearl. That black pearl! The skeletal division leader's heart thumped. It specialized in ghost corpses itself, or else it wouldn't have transformed itself into a skeleton in order to escape the attack of the 10 great forces in the first place. It was one of the top specialists in this field across the entire Azure Flower continent. The 10,000 Ghost Pearl was a sacred item from the 10,000 Ghost Emperor, and the pearl's aura alone made the skeletal division leader's heart jump. Looking closely at the pearl, it felt the urge to bow down. My patience is limited. Die or become my slave, Zhao Feng said impatiently. His expression wasn't acted out for the sake of doing this. He genuinely just wanted to finish off this business and return to the Canopy Great Country. The skeletal division leader's eyes looked toward Zhao Feng's left eye and the 10,000 Ghost Pearl. The god's spiritual eye made the skeletal division leader wary and helpless, while the 10,000 Ghost Pearl gave him unrestrainable greed. If I don't become a slave, I will definitely die. If I agree, there's a slight chance that I'll be able to flip things around in the future, and that pearl will become mine. The skeletal division leader finally made a decision. The 10,000 Ghost Pearl in Zhao Feng's hand caught the skeletal division leader's curiosity. With its several hundred years of experience, it had never seen a Ghost Dao item at this level. There was probably no other item similar to it across the entire continent. If it could counterattack in the future and succeed, then the rewards would be immeasurable. I agree to be your slave, but you have to agree to let me have my own mind. The skeletal division leader agreed. Okay. Zhao Feng thought about it before agreeing. There were two ways to enslave the skeletal division leader. The first was to turn it into a ghost corpse and destroy its mind. It would lose control of its body. The second was to control the skeletal division leader and, although it would have its own consciousness, it would obey Zhao Feng due to the threat on its life. The skeletal division leader definitely wouldn't agree to the first method and would rather die instead. If it became Zhao Feng's ghost corpse without its own consciousness, that would be worse than death. At least it had a small bit of hope with the second way. For example, if Zhao Feng died, the skeletal division leader would become free. Therefore, the second method was risky and required the user to be strong. After all, this skeletal division leader was a sovereign at its peak and was known for its cunning. If a normal expert was to enslave it, they would be killed within minutes. Although the second way is riskier, a slave with intelligence is far more useful than one without. Zhao Feng knew the pros and cons, so he agreed without hesitation. He was confident in his strength and believed that he could control the skeletal division leader. After a while of rest, Zhao Feng sat in front of the skeletal division leader and gathered his eye power. The little thieving cat sat next to him and kept an eye on the skeletal division leader, while the two dark silver ghost corpses stood on the latter's left and right. The red flame in the skeletal division leader's eye sockets dimmed as it sighed in its heart. This junior was more than cautious. An hour later, Zhao Feng successfully merged the dark heart seed into the depths of the skeletal division leader's soul. This dark heart seed was different from the one on Lin Tong. Last time, Zhao Feng forcefully put his dark heart seed into Lin Tong's mind and, if he had resisted too much, he could have died. This time, the skeletal division leader helped put the dark heart seed within the depths of its soul. Furthermore, the dark heart seed this time had been perfected and cost Zhao Feng several dozenfold more energy than last time. This meant that the power was much stronger. This method of control involves the Tao of the soul and is used with an eye bloodline. Is it the Dark Eye Forbidden Page? The skeletal division leader was scared but couldn't resist. On the contrary, it even had to help Zhao Feng. The skeletal division leader knew very clearly how powerful the dark heart seed was. It was like a bomb that could explode at any time. Not bad. Zhao Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. The dark heart seed this time was extremely powerful and could take the skeletal division leader's life any time he wanted. Even if I recover back to my peak, the chance of me breaking this technique silently is lower than 10%. The skeletal division leader's expression was extremely ugly as it lay on the floor. Within the 100 graves forbidden ground, Zhao Feng sat on the piles of bones and recovered his yuan qi. Because of his strong mental energy, his source of true spirit was replenished within half a day, and it was actually even stronger than before. Compared to that, his I bloodline power recovery speed was much slower. Maintaining the weapon shadow takes too much of a toll on my bloodline. It won't recover without a couple days of rest. Zhao Feng closed his eyes and felt the Ice Imperial Spear in his body. The Ice Imperial Spear's current state was unique. It was sleeping. Furthermore, not all Earth-grade items could transform into a liquid and merge with the body. Because of the Ice Imperial Spear's specialty, this liquid form was heavily related to the laws of water. It was because of this that Zhao Feng could use a wisp of the Ice Imperial Spear's aura and power. Even an actual sovereign wouldn't be able to control the Ice Imperial Spear. Earth-grade weapons were split into tiers just like everything else, and for the Purple Saint Partial Spirit to keep the Ice Imperial Spear, it definitely wasn't an average Earth-grade weapon. 2 days later, Zhao Feng's I bloodline power had mostly recovered. On the other hand, the skeletal division leader was still laying on the ground and slowly absorbing the air of death within the 100 graves forbidden ground to heal. Too slow. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. He needed to get back to the Canopy Great Country. The skeletal division leader spoke in a bitter tone. I was broken into pieces by you all and had to use my life force. I would need at least a year or two to fully recover under normal situations, but I can recover several times faster in the 100 graves forbidden ground. Zhao Feng opened his god's spiritual eye and inspected the skeletal division leader's state. The skeletal division leader's body was extremely tough and could withstand almost any attack from anyone under the origin core realm. However, once its bones were broken, it would be extremely slow to recover. I'll give you 10 more days. Zhao Feng estimated that 10 days would be enough for the skeletal division leader to put all of its bones back together. Zhao Feng also told the little thieving cat to return the broken hand. Meow meow. The little thieving cat reluctantly gave the arm and the gold and silver whip back to the skeletal division leader. After all, the skeletal division leader was Zhao Feng's slave and would be more helpful to him the stronger it was. Zhao Feng was silent before taking out a drop of elixir of life. The skeletal division leader's eyes immediately lit up when it saw the drop. I didn't think that you would have a legendary item like the elixir of life. Although the elixir can't heal my bones much, it can restore my life foundation, and once that's healed, the speed of my recovery will increase. The skeletal division leader was overjoyed as it received the elixir of life. Its aura started to rise after a while. Zhao Feng nodded his head. If this continued, the skeletal division leader's injuries would heal within half a year, and it would become even stronger. In this period of time, Zhao Feng started to walk around the 100 graves forbidden ground. The large graves caught Zhao Feng's attention. Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat had come to the altar-like place in the very center before and were still curious about it. His gaze turned to the skeletal division leader. Maybe this member of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion upper echelon would know some secrets. This is a teleportation stand that leads to the outside, created by the Patriarch and some others several hundred years ago. It was hard to create even back when we had all the resources in the continent. The skeletal division leader's voice was low. Teleportation stand to the outside. Zhao Feng's heart jumped slightly. He knew a little about arrays and had some guesses when he first came here, but he didn't expect that it was connected to areas outside the Azure Flower continent. Does that mean that I can leave the Azure Flower continent and enter other areas? Zhao Feng wasn't the frog in a well from back then. He had fought with geniuses of 2-star sects before, and he had a decent knowledge of the outside world. If this was several hundred years ago, yes, but the teleportation stand here was damaged from the fight back then and hasn't been used for a long time. It's hard to say. The skeletal division leader sighed and shook its head. It obviously didn't know whether the stand would work or not. Zhao Feng nodded his head and started to inspect the area. Meow meow. The little thieving cat's figure started to dart around nearby as its eyes moved back and forth. When they entered the room once more, it was empty. A scroll appeared in Zhao Feng's hand, containing words that he didn't understand even till now. The Three Saints Palace has become unmovable in the area of dust. In the past few days, it even lured several one-star factions to almost break the curse of 100 graves. Now, the energy of the teleportation array has been used up. This subordinate will be leaving first. Zhao Feng had his guesses. It wasn't hard to analyze that this teleportation array was created with the help of outside forces. The skeletal division leader also said that the resources of this continent couldn't create it. Meow meow. The little thieving cat started to dig not far away. Wang. The entire 100 Graves forbidden ground started to tremble as a powerful invisible curse surged toward the little thieving cat. The power of the curse was 10 times stronger than usual, and even Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader were affected. Stop. That's the source of the 100 Graves forbidden grounds curse. The skeletal division leader's expression changed dramatically as it tried to stop the little thieving cat. The little thieving cat's actions were extremely disrespectful toward the 100 Graves forbidden grounds, challenging its ferocity. Not good. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye caught a trace of the invisible curse power charging toward the little thieving cat. Shua! Zhao Feng circulated his god's spiritual eye and sent a wisp of the ancient aura toward the little thieving cat. Meow meow. The little thieving cat smiled and flipped in the air before taking out a mysterious dark dagger. The dark dagger created blurs with every movement, and the invisible power of the curse suddenly changed. Woo! The mysterious dagger trembled and seemed to glow with darkness that murmured in cold, raspy tones. In that instant, an unimaginably mysterious power descended and made the day turn into night. All the power of the curse in this area screeched and dissipated when it came near. Night? Turning the laws of nature around? Could that dagger be a legendary item of the Tao of assassination? The skeletal division leader's mouth was wide open, and it couldn't tell what was happening. Meow meow. The little thieving cat then stabbed the dagger into the ground and used it as a spade as it kept on digging. Both Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader were stunned. What's the history of this cat? How could it be willing to obey Zhao Feng with its intelligence? The skeletal division leader couldn't understand the little thieving cat. It instinctively felt as if this little thieving cat was a fox that had lived countless years and knew more things than even it. Shua! At this moment, Zhao Feng came to the little thieving cat's side. The god's spiritual eye and the aura of the mysterious dagger could make even ghosts and gods retreat. Woo! The mysterious dagger seemed to sense the existence of the god's spiritual eye and hummed lightly. It didn't seem to reject Zhao Feng, but it was wary of him. This dagger might be even more mysterious than the Ice Imperial Spear. Zhao Feng guessed in his heart. Back at the Purple Saint Treasured Palace, the little thieving cat used countless methods to finally obtain this mysterious dagger, and Zhao Feng still remembered the Purple Saint partial spirit's fear and panic. Meow meow. The little thieving cat laughed wickedly and signaled Zhao Feng to help. Fine. Zhao Feng shrugged his shoulders and took out a weapon and started to dig as well. How? How can you be so shameless? The skeletal division leader was shocked, but then it tried to get up and dig as well. However, it couldn't do so because its bones hadn't completely healed yet, so it could only watch the cat and human enthusiastically dig. Talk! Talk! A grave was soon dug up, revealing a crystalline black coffin. That's a coffin made from mystic black crystal stones, which contain the heaven-earth air of mystic Een. They've been extinct on the continent for a long time now and are rare even in the outside areas. The skeletal division leader knew that these mystic black crystal stones were a source of energy for the curses. Looking inside closely, there was a skeleton that radiated a strong power and was preserved rather nicely. Interesting. The aura from these bones hasn't dissipated after so many years, and there's still some remaining aura of the soul. Is it because of the mystic black crystal stones? Zhao Feng was very curious. Through his god's spiritual eye, he could tell that these bones had an aura similar to his ghost corpses. Take. A black pearl appeared in Zhao Feng's hand that sent out a gray mist, taking the bones. Fucking hell, those are true Lord rank ghost corpse materials. The nearby skeletal division leader roared in its heart unwillingly. It knew that the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground was created with the bodies of 100 true Lord ranks to create such a powerful curse. Keep digging. Zhao Feng laughed. He could feel the 10,000 ghost pearls' excitement after taking in one body. It was as if it was hungry. Talk. The cat and human ignored the power of the curse and kept on digging. Watching powerful body after powerful body being absorbed into the 10,000 ghost pearl, the skeletal division leader's heart trembled. What is this brat thinking? Does he want to create an army of ghost corpses? On the morning of the second day, the graves were completely emptied. There were only big empty holes that smelled like dirt. The human and cat put away the tools and smiled. The skeletal division leader went from unwillingness to shock, then to envy and jealousy. By the end, he had gotten used to it. 100 skeletons. 100 perfectly preserved true Lord rank skeletons that were kept in mystic black crystal stone coffins. Each and every one of their auras haven't dissipated yet. The skeletal division leader screamed in its heart. Unfortunately for it, the person who received all this good fortune wasn't itself. Even if it knew that there were 100 true Lord rank corpses underground, it didn't have the ability to take them. On the other hand, a child and a cat managed to dig out the source of the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground's power. Not bad. Little thieving cat, you've done a lot this time. Zhao Feng's face was red with excitement. Once these 100 true Lord rank bodies were refined into ghost corpses, he would have an entire army of true Lord ranks. Anyone who held such power could sweep across strong countries and clans like child's play. Even a great country could be destroyed with relative ease. Of course, it wasn't an easy task to craft all these bodies into ghost corpses. In addition, the amount of time and energy required would be extremely great. The 2 true Lord rank ghost corpses Zhao Feng already owned had been pillaged. Upgrading a ghost corpse to the true spirit realm would require a long process. I'm able to control ghost corpses, but I'm not a specialist. To refine 100 true Lord rank ghost corpses from the beginning. Zhao Feng glanced toward the skeletal division leader, which made it hiccup. A while later, and this magnificent task shall be yours. Zhao Feng smiled and patted the skeletal division leader's shoulder. The skeletal division leader shook and its bones almost fell all over the place. Although these skeletons all have the foundation of a true Lord rank, crafting any one of them into a ghost corpse will require a ton of effort and energy. The skeletal division leader had the heart to cry. Zhao Feng was using it purely as labor. However, he controlled its life, so it had to obey his orders. Zhao Feng held the 10,000 ghost pearl and merged his consciousness into it. The 10,000 ghost pearl was damp and covered in mist. 2 dark silver ghost corpses lay in the corner and were being purified by the air of death within the 10,000 ghost pearl. The powerful auras and souls of the 100 true Lord rank skeletons started to change after entering the pearl. The 10,000 ghost pearl seems to have a mysterious power that's extremely suitable for strengthening and growing ghost corpses. Zhao Feng didn't really research the 10,000 ghost pearl much. After all, his main skills were his eye bloodline and the Wind Lightning Emperor's inheritance. He only dabbled in ghost corpses. At the rate it was going, these 100 true Lord rank skeletons would automatically turn into ghost corpses after a couple years, or perhaps dozens of years. Several days later, Iron Dragon's strong country. In the barren desert, a castle was almost covered by sand. The once enormous castle had been shattered, and the hideout of the Iron Dragon Alliance had been destroyed. Apart from the skeletal division leader, the remaining upper echelons of the Iron Dragon Alliance had either been captured or killed. The ones that managed to escape weren't enough to do anything. Although more than a dozen days had already passed, there were still many experts present. Old Su, Elder Bai, Song Yue, Lin Tong, and company were all still here. Maybe they were watching out for the skeletal division leader to return, or maybe they were expecting something else. That Zhao Feng's gone to pursue a member of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion upper echelon. The situation probably isn't very good. Lin Tong glanced outside and murmured to himself. In the depths of his heart, he really admired Zhao Feng, in terms of both strength and courage, but he was hoping that Zhao Feng would be killed so that he could regain his freedom. He knew the chance wasn't very high though. Zhao Feng's soul and eye powers were something he could only look up to. That youth had become an overwhelming prodigy, and a king of the cloud area after returning. It's been more than a dozen days, but there's still no news at all. Old Su felt uneasy. No one agreed with Zhao Feng's choice to follow the skeletal division leader. Although the Scarlet Moon demonic religion had been destroyed, they were still formidable. Who knew how many methods a division leader had up their sleeve? Old Su, you don't need to worry too much. Zhao Feng doesn't seem very arrogant. He must have something to rely on if he dares to pursue the skeletal division leader alone. Elder Bai smiled faintly. She didn't really care about Zhao Feng's life or death, but she was thinking about what kind of killing move Zhao Feng would have after returning from the unknown inheritance. On this night, a brilliant arc of lightning flashed into the castle. I'm back. A ripple of wind and lightning blew across the castle. Old Su and company felt a slight tingle, but it felt unusually comfortable. Everyone's heart jumped as they glanced toward the blue-haired youth not too far away. You're finally back. That's good. Old Su was relieved, and many people let out a long breath. No one was hopeful that Zhao Feng killed the skeletal division leader. It was already a surprise he could come back alive. Furthermore, Zhao Feng didn't seem to be injured, just tired. Chapter leader, you're finally back. We were worried about you. Dai Yi and Jiang Sanfeng came out from the other side of the castle. Zhao Feng came straight to the castle after using his Eye of Heaven, leaving the two behind. When they arrived, Zhao Feng had already disappeared. After asking around, they were told that Zhao Feng went to pursue the skeletal division leader and were shocked. Many people didn't even want to meet a division leader, and you're chasing one by yourself? However, Zhao Feng's safe return made the others let out a breath. This included Lin Tong, who sighed bitterly. He didn't escape the fate of being Zhao Feng's slave. Elder Bai glanced at Zhao Feng with a complex expression. She thought that, even if Zhao Feng wasn't able to kill the skeletal division leader, he would at least be injured, but he was completely fine. At this point in time, everyone glanced curiously toward Zhao Feng. What was the final result? Zhao Feng, did you catch up to the skeletal division leader? Elder Bai asked curiously. Everyone, including Old Su, Song Yuyue, Lin Tong, and the two from the Canopy Great Country, were focused on this question. Did I catch up? Zhao Feng was puzzled. Everyone seemed to think that he didn't even catch up to the skeletal division leader because he didn't look like he fought a battle. It was like he went out for a holiday. Everyone, the skeletal division leader problem has been solved. There's nothing left in the cloud area. I will leave very soon. Zhao Feng smiled. He felt safe and accomplished after solving everything in the cloud area. Furthermore, he managed to get more than he could have imagined after coming here. Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed and seemed to become infected by Zhao Feng's happiness. From today onward, the Iron Dragon Alliance is a thing of the past. Old Su clapped his hands. He knew that Zhao Feng wouldn't leave easily without solving everything in the cloud area. Zhao Feng, did you kill the skeletal division leader? Elder Bai felt that something was off. Zhao Feng only said solved, not killed. The difference between the two was big. Hearing this, everyone's gaze turned toward Zhao Feng once more. That's right. How was the skeletal division leader problem solved? Is the skeletal division leader dead? Everyone seemed to be unsatisfied with the word solved and wanted to know the specifics. Old Su's eyes twinkled and felt as if there was a secret involved. Everyone, don't worry. Although the skeletal division leader isn't dead, it won't be threatening the cloud area anymore. No one understood Zhao Feng's smile. He didn't want many people to know that the skeletal division leader was conquered by him, especially Elder Bai. The skeletal division leader isn't dead? Many people present hiccuped coldly, and a layer of darkness covered their happiness. The upper echelon of the dragon-killing alliance felt uneasy. Although Zhao Feng was strong and there were no more threats in the cloud area, they still felt uneasy. A Scarlet Moon demonic religion subdivision at their peak was already enough to wipe out the cloud area, and now there was still a division leader somewhere out there? Lin Tong's eyebrows locked together. Zhao Feng's confident smile made him realize that the situation wasn't what everyone thought it was. However, no matter what they asked, Zhao Feng smiled and didn't give a clear response. Could Zhao Feng have been counterattacked by the skeletal division leader and controlled by it? A cold light flashed in Elder Bai's eyes, but she didn't make any movement before confirming the truth. Furthermore, she couldn't defeat Zhao Feng easily. The chance of success was only 50%. Half a day later, Elder Bai, Song Yue, and company all left. Zhao Feng and Old Su were speaking within a secret room under the castle. "Brother Zhao, what's the situation? If you leave like this, how will I feel safe?" Old Su questioned. "You want to know the whereabouts of the skeletal division leader?" "That's right." Old Su gritted his teeth. "Hee. Isn't he right next to you?" A dark mist spread across the room. Hearing this, Old Su's eyes squinted. A familiar skeleton could be seen in the mist, and two dark red flames twitched in its eye sockets. "Skeletal division leader?" Old Su's hair stood on end, and he almost fell out of his seat. The mist slowly started to fade, taking the skeletal division leader with it. Old Su was unmoving and speechless. He didn't calm down even after a long time. He glanced deeply at the youth in front of him with a complex expression. Probably no one would have imagined that Zhao Feng not only defeated the skeletal division leader, he controlled it. It was laughable that they were suspicious of Zhao Feng solving the skeletal division leader earlier. "Indeed, you wouldn't leave if there was still danger in the cloud area." Old Su let out a breath. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and took back the 10,000 ghost pearl. After leaving the 100 Graves forbidden ground, Zhao Feng put the skeletal division leader into the 10,000 ghost pearl. This was its own suggestion. The 10,000 ghost pearls environment was extremely suitable for ghost corpses, and the skeletal division leader was practically a ghost corpse itself. Its body and injuries could recover much faster in the 10,000 ghost peel. A while later, Zhao Feng and Old Su walked out of the secret room. There were still many people present, including Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi, Lin Tong, and Princess Jean. Everyone found that when Old Su came out, his clothes were wet and he seemed to be shocked, whereas Zhao Feng remained as confident and joyful as before. Lin Tong, Princess Jean, and company didn't know what happened, but even though they were curious about what Zhao Feng and Old Su talked about, they knew that some secrets would remain secrets. Chapter Leader. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi walked over to Zhao Feng's left and right. Zhao Feng nodded toward Old Su, then signaled to Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi and journeyed back to the Broken Moon clan. "Brother Zhao does not need to worry. The cloud area will be cleansed." Old Su sent Zhao Feng and company away with his eyes. During the following days, the cloud area situation started to change. The Iron Dragon Alliance that once ruled had been defeated in a short couple months. This was the end of an era and the start of a new one. The Dragon Killing Alliance replaced the Iron Dragon Alliance and created the Dragon Killing Strong Country, mainly led by those that once belonged to the Sky-Rich Imperials. The Dragon Killing Strong Country conquered both the Sky-Rich and the Iron Dragon Strong Country's territories, but its main headquarters was in the Cloud Country. Although the Dragon Killing Strong Country ruled the 13 countries in name, the true ruler was the Dragon Killing Alliance, which had their own intentions by placing its headquarters in the Cloud Country. Several days later, Zhao Feng, Jiang Sanfeng, and Dai Yi first returned to the Broken Moon clan to say goodbye. Broken Moon clan, First Elder's building. "Master, you lost an arm when you saved us back then. I'll make you a suitable replacement when I return to the Canopy Great Country." Zhao Feng looked at First Elder's empty sleeve and promised. As long as he could craft the Wheel of Light and Darkness, First Elders would not only recover, he would be stronger than he was in the past. Zhao Feng also gave some pills and resources from the Purple Saint Ruins to First Elder, which healed First Elder's hidden injuries and allowed him to break through to the peak true human rank. The new Broken Moon clan Master Yanggon also successfully reached the true spirit realm a couple days ago. The entire Broken Moon clan's strength had increased by several fold, and it was now the #1 clan among the 13 clans. Adding on True Lord Taishao, Lin Tong, and company, Zhao Feng estimated that the Broken Moon clan was close to half a star. Fenger, My only wish is for you to go further. First Elder sent Zhao Feng and company away with teary eyes. No one knew when Zhao Feng would return after this departure. Of course, Zhao Feng did some things before he left. The dark heart seed in Lin Tong was consolidated, and a god's eye mark was forcefully placed on him. It was obvious that Lin Tong had the potential to easily break through to the True Lord rank down the road. With the strengthened dark heart seed and the god's eye mark, even if there is any danger later, my eye of heaven can descend. Zhao Feng was obviously concerned about the future. As his eye strengthened, he could allow the eye of heaven to appear here even if he was in the canopy great country. The god's eye mark was to be a sensor showing him where to appear. Chapter Leader, the situation here is stable. When will we leave? Zhang Sanfeng asked. There's one last thing. A rare show of warmth appeared on Zhao Feng's face. Half a day later, Zhao Feng went to the depths of a mountain and met his parents, as well as some close relatives of the Zhao family. Lord Guanjuan was among them. Back when Zhao Feng left the cloud area, First Elder had already sent people to take care of Zhao Feng's parents and master. Zhao Feng finally left after a couple days with his parents and Lord Guanjuan. Chou! Zhao Feng turned into a gust of wind and lightning that left with Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi. Lord Guanjuan's face was full of pride when he sent his disciple away. Shua! An expressionless youth appeared out of nowhere and stood next to Lord Guanjuan. Master, I can't stay with you anymore. I will need to leave the cloud area as well. Bei Moi bowed toward Lord Guanjuan. Lord Guanjuan felt satisfied. With disciples like Zhao Feng and Bei Moi, he could die without regret. Back then, Bei Moi had to make a choice, and, although he was a disciple of Master Haiyun, Bei Moi's loyalty still belonged to Lord Guanjuan. I waited for a day to counterattack, but unfortunately, Brother Zhao is too strong. Bei Moi watched as Zhao Feng vanished into the sky. This junior martial brother of his had climbed step by step, from an ant at the bottom of the clan to a miraculous star, until he reached a point where he could exchange blows with elders of the clan. He had great success. Not only had he changed the fate of the Broken Moon clan, he became a ruler of the cloud area. Several days later, the news of the dragon-killing strong country being formed spread across the cloud area. The strongest power right now was the dragon-killing alliance, which stood above every clan and family. Apparently, the first elder was Zhao Feng, who had left not long ago. He didn't appear in the opening ceremony, but no one questioned his status or strength. People would still talk about First Elder for years to come, even though Zhao Feng wouldn't return for a long time. Above the desolate lands, a large gold and green bird spread its wings and flew at a speed comparable to a true lord rank. The bird was carrying 3 people as it slowly left the cloud area. Chapter Leader, who knows how much of a shock you'll create when you return to the canopy great country? Dai Yi laughed. Even in an era like this, the number of geniuses that were as overwhelming as Zhao Feng could be counted with one hand. Zhao Feng was only 18 right now, while Yu Tianhao and Goddess Bingwei were almost 10 years older than him. Chapter Leader, your cultivation has reached the early stage True Lord rank. Apart from Yu Tianhao, probably no one is your match. Zhang Sanfeng said respectfully. Zhao Feng received the news that Yu Tianhao had reached the early stage True Lord rank after returning from his inheritance, and that his powerful aura stunned the older True Lord ranks. Seems like Yu Tianhao reached the early stage True Lord rank half a year ago. Zhao Feng murmured. Across the entire continent, only Yu Tianhao seemed to be comparable to Zhao Feng. Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi both thought so too. However, a calm and normal youth surfaced in Zhao Feng's mind. Xian Wuheng and Yu Tianhao both entered the Heaven's Legacy inheritance, but only Yu Tianhao came out. Zhang Sanfeng said. Xian Wuheng didn't return? Zhao Feng was extremely surprised. In the eyes of someone else, if one didn't return from the inheritances, they were dead. Zhao Feng agreed, but there were always exceptions. For example, Zhao Yufei. She didn't return from the inheritance, and not only was she fine, she had great fortune in front of her. Zhao Feng estimated that no one from the sacred True Dragon Gathering was as lucky as Zhao Yufei. Even Zhao Feng himself couldn't be compared to her. After all, she was going to control the entire inheritance. One had to know that the Purple Saint Ruins was ranked above all the other inheritances. There's 3 things I need to do after I return to the Canopy Great Country, Zhao Feng thought. The first thing was to give the elixir of life to the mysterious elder of the Iron Blood religion and return the favor. The second was to craft a wheel of light of darkness for First Elder. The third thing was about his fiancée, Lu Qinxin. There wasn't much difficulty for the first 2 tasks, but Zhao Feng's head hurt thinking about the third task. He promised Lu Qinxin when he escaped the flooding lake city that he would marry her someday when he had nothing important left. Currently, he had stabilized the cloud area situation and now didn't really have anything on his mind. This meant that it was time to stick to his promise. Marriage? An elegant and calm goddess appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. He didn't dislike Lu Qinxin, and he won a bet against her due to the flaw in her heart when he escaped. However, this also made him feel guilty and sympathetic. At the end, he made a promise, even though he knew that Lu Qinxin might not believe him. 2 months later, the golden green bird passed by a section of the northern continent and finally arrived at the borders of the Canopy Great Country in front of a raging river. The flooding lake city is in front of this river, right? Zhao Feng spoke. Chapter leader, we need to pass through the flooding lake city to get back to headquarters. But the flooding lake Lu family. Jiang Sanfeng couldn't help but hesitate when he spoke up to hear. He knew that the pursuit of Zhao Feng from the flooding lake city lord hadn't ended yet. The River of Rage was one of the 3 big rivers of the northern continent, and it passed by the Canopy Great Country. The raging river seemed to split the continent into 2 pieces. The current was extremely powerful and could devour ascended realms with just 1 wave. There were windstorms above the river that could rip flying beasts into pieces. Even normal true human ranks wouldn't be able to fly across this river easily. There were all sorts of legends regarding the River of Rage. Apparently, the Heaven's Legacy inheritance once appeared here tens of thousands of years ago. On this day, a weird scene occurred at the River of Rage. Woo! A deep hum came from the center of the waves as a faint green whirlpool appeared. When this green whirlpool appeared, the water became dead silent, as if it was frozen. Wang, the green whirlpool spun slowly, as if reaching the other side of space. Several breaths later, the whirlpool suddenly stopped and with a schwa, a normal-looking man with closed eyes surfaced. The River of Rage was enough to rip apart normal true spirit realms, but the location near the man was extremely calm. Azure Flower Continent? Looks like I'm back. The green-robed man opened his eyes. The normal-looking face had a pair of eyes that were mysterious and unfathomable, as if he had experienced countless lives and rebirths. This man seemed only 20 or so years old, but gave a feeling that he was different from others his age. If the other geniuses of the Sacred True Dragon Gathering were here, everyone would be shocked, including the 5 overwhelming prodigies. This green-robed man was Xian Wuheng, who only just returned from the Heaven's Legacy inheritance. There's nothing left to care about here. Xian Wuheng stood still for a long time before sighing. He didn't leave the River of Rage, just flowing with the current. Being one of the 3 large rivers, the River of Rage was said to reach the end of the continent and connect with the ocean. Outside the continent is the limitless ocean. Xian Wuheng closed his eyes and his small body was soon engulfed by the raging waves. On the 3rd day that Xian Wuheng was floating, a large green and gold bird struggled to fly across the River of Rage. Zhao Feng and company looked down at the opposite shore of the River of Rage. The Heaven's Legacy inheritance descended here tens of thousands of years ago and seemed to split the heavens and the earth. Zhao Feng couldn't help but think about the past as he passed here a second time. When he came here the first time, he didn't know anyone and wasn't familiar with anything. This time around, he was relaxed and had a glint of power in his eyes. Chapter leader, you're really going to the flooding lake city? Dai Yi asked once more. The flooding lake city was one of the branches of the main Lu family, and Empress Qin of the Lu family was an important figure of the Imperials. Over the past couple years, the fight between the Iron Blood religion and the Imperials hadn't stopped. Simply said, the Lu family was the Iron Blood religion's enemies. Even if there wasn't this connection, everyone knew the relationship between Zhao Feng and the flooding lake city lord. Since we're going past there anyway, we'll have to see them. Zhao Feng didn't hesitate at all. Firstly, he was here to prove his promise, and secondly, Master Tegan lived nearby. Zhao Feng needed his help to craft a wheel of light and darkness for First Elder. Half a day later, the gold and green bird approached the flooding lake city. A flying beast at the true mystic rank. The guards on the city walls trembled in fear. It wasn't rare to see a true human rank, but those at the true mystic rank and higher were rare. True lord ranks were figures that ruled their own places and were major powers. From this, one could see how precious a true mystic rank flying beast was. There weren't many flying beasts at such a level in the flooding lake city. Inspect them closely. They aren't from the flooding lake city. The guards on the wall immediately told their higher-ups. That blue-haired youth looks familiar. A few of the guards focused on Zhao Feng and instinctively turned toward a poster near the city wall. The poster was slightly tattered, but a blue-haired youth and a little cat could be seen on it. Oh my lord! The #1 criminal of the flooding lake city? Am I dreaming? The guards were dazed. This was the first time a criminal had come without a disguise. However, before the guards could react, the bird flew past. A while later, Zhao Feng? You're sure it's him? A slightly excited voice came from a purple-armored youth. Young Master Lu Yuan. The guards all bowed. The one receiving the guard's report was young Master Lu Yuan, who had reached the true human rank. If Zhao Feng was here, he would definitely recognize this person. This was the person who had greeted him when he first came to the flooding lake city, and if weren't because of this person, Zhao Feng wouldn't have battled with Lu Qinxin. When Zhao Feng escaped from the city back then, Lu Yuan came to pursue Zhao Feng, but was instantly defeated by Zhao Feng's eye technique. Zhao Feng, I didn't think you'd return here after 2 years. An overwhelming prodigy. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and remembered the past with a complex expression. So, a glint flashed in his eyes as he sped toward the direction the gold and green bird went in. Yet, in terms of speed, the bird was at the true mystic rank and was obviously much faster than Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan tried his best but couldn't catch up. An overwhelming prodigy? The criminal of the flooding lake city is just going to pass by like that. Lu Yuan was extremely unwilling. He didn't even know why he wanted to catch up. Maybe it was because he had been defeated and wasn't resolved. Compared to that, Zhao Feng being a criminal was just an excuse. In reality, if the gold and green bird didn't stop, Lu Yuan definitely wouldn't catch up. Putting aside those at the true human rank, even most true mystic ranks couldn't catch up. Maybe the heavens listened to Lu Yuan's internal scream, because the gold and green suddenly slowed down and landed in the center of the flooding lake city, which was the flooding lake city lord's palace. Back then, a sparring session was held here for the marriage. So. 3 figures landed in front of the city lord's palace. The blue-haired youth had a rare look of fond reminiscence. After all, he had stayed here for half a year. However, Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi didn't have such emotions. This is the center of the flooding lake Lu family, and the city lord is extremely famous. He's only been a true lord rank for 2 years, but has already defeated several old true lord ranks. The two were uneasy. The Iron Blood religion and flooding lake Lu family were on opposite sides, and Zhao Feng was a fugitive from them. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't do this even if they had 100 guts. On top of that, the poster of Zhao Feng was still on the wall. Isn't that the son-in-law from back then? Son-in-law? Zhao Feng's back. Discussion broke out in front of the city lord's palace. After all, Zhao Feng had stayed here for half a year and many people recognized him. Chapter leader, are you thinking of taking down the flooding lake city right now? Jiang Sanfeng felt uneasy. More and more people gathered around, and there were even experts at the true spirit realm. However, they were wary of the cultivation of these 3, especially Zhao Feng, who had become an overwhelming prodigy. It seemed as if Zhao Feng had no intentions of backing down or evading. Back then, Zhao Feng shamelessly ran away and was chased across the entire country. Now that he's broken through to the true lord rank, does he want to take revenge? Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi thought. Even Lu Yuan, who had caught up, thought so. Back then, Lu Yuan could be said to have witnessed the entire process. The flooding Lake City Lord forced Zhao Feng into the marriage, which ended up forcing him to join the Iron Blood religion. Now that Zhao Feng's become an overwhelming prodigy, he's said to have the battle power of a true lord rank. Lu Yuan's heart jumped when he thought up to here. Zhao Feng was definitely here to take revenge. Go tell the city lord quickly. Lu Yuan couldn't help but think what would happen if a true lord rank started to attack within the city. On one side, he went to report to the city lord, and on the other side, he made his own preparations. Brother Zhao, long time no see. Lu Yuan squeezed out a smile as he came over. The title of overwhelming prodigy made others respectful. Although Zhao Feng's aura was subdued, it wasn't concealed on purpose, and the elder generation members were stunned. Lu Yuan, you've come right on time. Go tell the city lord that I wish to meet him. I've come to fulfill my promise of marriage. Zhao Feng's gaze turned to Lu Yuan and smiled. He obviously still remembered Lu Yuan. If it weren't because of him, he wouldn't have entered the fight and be in all this trouble in the first place. What? See the city lord? Fulfill the marriage? Lu Yuan and company were stunned. Even Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi were dazed. Wasn't Zhao Feng here to seek revenge? In an elegant building within the city lord's palace, a man and woman were sitting opposite each other. Qin Sword Palace Master, you came all the way to the flooding Lake City for the Sky Qin 9 music? The flooding Lake City lord sat upright, but there was coldness in his expression. The woman opposite him looked around 27 or 28 years of age and contained an indescribable elegance. It was hard to imagine that this beauty was the leader of one of the 8 great forces of the Canopy Great Country, the Qin Sword Palace. Lu Jutian, we've known each other for a while. The Sky Qin 9 music is a supreme skill in the Tao of the Qin and is related to the Qin Sword 9 mystic technique of the Qin Sword Palace. The music isn't of much use to you. The Qin Sword Palace Master smiled and tried to persuade the flooding Lake City Lord. I know that the Sky Qin 9 music is extremely alluring to you. Empress Qin is also very interested in it. The flooding Lake City Lord said calmly. No sign of any emotion could be seen. Empress Qin? She came to find you too. The Qin Sword Palace Master's eyebrows furrowed. Empress Qin's status was very high and even the Palace Master was slightly wary of her. Furthermore, the Qin Sword Palace and the Lu family were both on the imperial side. Empress Qin and the Qin Sword Palace Master were the 2 women in the great country who had the highest status and strength. If the 2 of them wanted the same thing, even true lord ranks would feel pressured, as both sides weren't to be offended. I've already rejected Empress Qin, the flooding Lake City Lord said. You've rejected Empress Qin? Hearing this, the Qin Sword Palace Master was half happy and half worried. She was happy that Empress Qin didn't get it, but worried that the city lord wouldn't give it to herself either if he had already offended Empress Qin. The music was left behind by Qin Xin's mother, so Qin Xin treasures it. Even if it's useless to me, I won't give it out easily. The flooding Lake City Lord shook his head, showing his decision. The Qin Sword Palace Master wasn't surprised. The flooding Lake City Lord was someone who was extremely loyal to his feelings. It wasn't going to be easy to persuade him. She started to think about what could be used to move the flooding Lake City Lord. Right at this time, urgent footsteps sounded outside the door. City Lord, not good. A loud shout came from outside. The flooding Lake City Lord was slightly angered. What's going on? This building was a place where the City Lord entered seclusion. Usually, when the City Lord was here, no one would dare to interrupt him. Furthermore, he was in a discussion with the Qin Sword Palace Master right now. Did something big happen? The Qin Sword Palace Master was also curious. The flooding Lake City Lord harumphed. Shwa! A shadow landed in the corner of the room. Reporting to the City Lord, Zhao Feng has returned. Who's returned? Zhao Feng. The flooding Lake City Lord's body froze. Zhao Feng? Could it be one of the overwhelming prodigies? The one that escaped the marriage. The Qin Sword Palace Master revealed a puzzled expression. Zhao Feng's right outside the City Lord's palace and is asking for you, the figure said carefully. However, before his words even finished, the flooding Lake City Lord's eyes turned silver and red and released a terrifying aura. Zhao Feng, you still have the face to come back to the flooding Lake City? You're courting death. A roar boomed across the entire flooding Lake City. A wave of red light appeared above the City Lord's palace and resonated with the fire Yuan Qi. In that instant, everyone from the consolidated realm to the true spirit realm felt an intense heat. It was as if lava was trying to erupt from the ground. When the intent of a true lord rank was fully released, every true spirit realm within 1,000 miles would feel the change in the heaven-earth Yuan Qi. City Lord. Greetings, City Lord. The crowd in front of the City Lord's palace bowed down in fear. At this instant, countless people looked at the magnificent man floating in the sky, the flooding Lake City Lord. Such a powerful aura. Normal true lord ranks probably aren't his match. Dai Yi and Jiang Sanfeng exchanged shocked glances. They had participated in the sacred True Dragon gathering and were extremely knowledgeable. In his current angered state, the flooding Lake City Lord's fire skills reached an incredible level. Back when Zhao Feng had run away, the flooding Lake City Lord broke through to the True Lord rank while he was in a state very similar to the one he was in now. City Lord Lu, this junior is here to greet you. Back then Zhao Feng bowed. No matter what, this was Lu Qinxin's father. Brat, how dare you talk about back then? Because of you, Qinxin's name was tarnished and the flooding Lake Lu family became a joke. The flooding Lake City Lord roared, his voice booming like thunder. Zhao Feng was unmoving and calm, not taking the City Lord's words seriously. Back then, if it weren't for the fact that the City Lord had forced him to fight, Zhao Feng wouldn't have been engaged to Lu Qinxin and forced to escape to begin with. Zhao Feng felt guilty when Lu Qinxin caught up, so he made a promise to compensate. You've come right on time. I shall take revenge for Qinxin. The flooding Lake City Lord's roaring voice contained sorrow. However, he didn't fully lose his mind. Zhao Feng's cultivation had reached the early stage True Lord rank and was comparable to his own. Once the two fought here, many innocent people would be injured. Although the flooding Lake City Lord was confident, he wasn't sure if he could kill Zhao Feng in one blow. Seek revenge? What happened to Qinxin? Zhao Feng's heart shook and he couldn't help but asked worriedly. From the flooding Lake City Lord's tone, it seemed like Qinxin had been in an accident. At the sacred True Dragon gathering, the flooding Lake City Lord only had ill intent toward Zhao Feng, but he wouldn't do anything due to the Iron Blood religion. However, now it seemed as if the ill intent had turned into revenge. Zhao Feng, you're a prodigy of the sacred True Dragon gathering. Do you not know that Qinxin hasn't returned from her inheritance? The flooding Lake City Lord laughed coldly and glared at Zhao Feng. So. At this point in time, many spectators had been evacuated, leaving behind only Zhao Feng and company within 100 yards. Qinxin hasn't come back? Zhao Feng's expression changed dramatically as he turned toward Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi for confirmation. The two nodded their heads slightly. They had heard that Lu Qinxin hadn't returned, but it wasn't much of a big deal since they thought Zhao Feng was here to seek revenge. Why is it like this? After confirming this news, Zhao Feng's heart seemed to be hammered and he was dazed. In his heart, he was disappointed, regretful, and guilty. Zhao Feng knew that if Lu Qinxin hadn't returned by now, the chance of her being alive was extremely small. After all, not everyone was like Zhao Yufei, who had heaven-defying luck. Qinxin likes to be quiet and alone. If it weren't because of you, she wouldn't have participated in the sacred True Dragon gathering. The flooding Lake City Lord roared and turned into a streak of red light that charged toward Zhao Feng on the ground. At this moment in time, everyone near the City Lord's palace was already evacuated and Zhao Feng was dazed. This was the best chance to attack. Mystic Fire Scorching Demon. The flooding Lake City Lord's figure instantly came close and he thrust out a large wave of scorching flames that seemed to burn even the air. Not good. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi only felt the air become filled with a red light, and even their protective chi of true spirit couldn't stop it. This was just the aura of the attack. It was hard to imagine how strong the attack itself was. No wonder the flooding Lake City Lord evacuated everyone. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi cursed. Although they believed that Zhao Feng could block the flooding Lake City Lord's attack, they might be injured in the fight. You two retreat first. A low murmur sounded in their ears. Wang. A slightly numbing sensation hit the two and created a whirlwind that pushed them dozens of yards back. The next moment, boom! The flooding Lake City Lord's scorching palm thudded onto the ground. The area in front of the City Lord's palace shook and a 40 or 50-yard deep hole was created. See, the experts nearby all took in a cold breath and felt the wave of hot air blast over them. Bam! Although the power of this palm was extremely condensed, just the slightest ripple made part of the City Lord's palace wall fall. To save us, chapter leader. Dai Yi reacted and couldn't help but be sad. Just now, they saw Zhao Feng use a technique to send them out of the flooding Lake City Lord's attack range, while he didn't seem to resist at all. Looking at the smoking black hole, the two were sweating coldly. In their eyes, although Zhao Feng was strong, he didn't cultivate any body-strengthening techniques and couldn't block the attacks of a true Lord rank head-on. Furthermore, the flooding Lake City Lord's mystic fire scorching heaven manual had reached a high level and its offensive abilities were extremely strong. Shua! The flooding Lake City Lord's fiery figure froze when he got close to the hole. City Lord Lu, I feel guilty about Qinshin. A sigh came from the air and, with a gust of wind and lightning, the figure of a blue-haired youth appeared. What great use of wind and lightning! While pushing those two away, he also dodged the flooding Lake City Lord's attack. I heard that Zhao Feng went into a mysterious inheritance. Who knows what he got from it? Not far away, the Qin Sword Palace Master's eyes twinkled. You brat, we haven't met for a year, and you've already reached the true Lord rank. I'd like to see the battle power of an overwhelming prodigy. The flooding Lake City Lord was extremely surprised that his attack missed, and his anger boiled. Although the two hadn't fought head-on yet, the flooding Lake City Lord could sense Zhao Feng's terrifying speed. In just an instant, Zhao Feng not only dodged the flooding Lake City Lord's attack, he also saved Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi. Normal True Lord ranks might be able to dodge the flooding Lake City Lord's attack, but to save some bystanders at the same time? Not likely. Who? With a flash of red, the flooding Lake City Lord disappeared and reappeared several yards away from Zhao Feng. Mystic fire sealing heaven punch. The flooding Lake City Lord's fist was like a volcano with a heavily chaotic aura that locked off every path of retreat. Zhao Feng's heart dropped slightly. The flooding Lake City Lord's intent and power surpassed other early-stage True Lord ranks. This fist was focused on preventing retreat and couldn't be dodged easily. Chio! Zhao Feng disappeared in a gust of wind and lightning. Boom! The flooding Lake City Lord's punch managed to hit a ripple of wind and lightning, while the real Zhao Feng flashed above the flooding Lake City Lord. This Zhao Feng's merged wind and lightning into his movement and can't be seen with the naked eye. The nearby Qin Sword Palace Master was stunned. Although Zhao Feng hadn't displayed any battle power yet, his speed was definitely among the top 5 in the Canopy Great Country. Zhao Feng's figure was heading toward the clouds. It was as if he didn't want the fight to spread across the flooding Lake City. The flooding Lake City Lord was slightly surprised, but this was good for him since he could go all out. Mystic fire exploding cloud. An eye-catching flaming red cloud exploded, creating ripples that swept across an area of 2 miles. The terrifying power made the hearts of the spectators tremble. Many of them felt extremely hot and started to sweat. The flooding Lake City Lords already started to use his wide-range attacks. Hee. Let's see how that brat dodges. The true spirit realm experts discussed. Within the flaming cloud, a blue-haired youth radiated an aura of wind and lightning that blasted the clouds into bits. The flooding Lake City Lord was starting to use more and more powerful attacks. However, Zhao Feng hadn't attacked at all and evaded the flooding Lake City Lord's offense with ease. Even some of the ascended realms below could see that Zhao Feng's speed easily surpassed the flooding Lake City Lord. Junior, why aren't you attacking? The anger in the flooding Lake City Lord's heart brewed, but he was slightly puzzled. Thinking back to his history with Zhao Feng and how he had sent people after this youth for years, the City Lord's love for him had turned to anger and, now killing intent. Of course, when Zhao Feng arrived, the city lord realized that it wasn't easy to take him down. Zhao Feng wasn't fighting back and was allowing the Flooding Lake City Lord to send a barrage of attacks. The Flooding Lake City Lord wasn't dumb. It wasn't hard for him to see that this rising star's strength was most likely above his own. When I came to the Flooding Lake City, I was forced into this marriage by the Flooding Lake City Lord. But in that half a year, the Flooding Lake City Lord gave me pointers and large amounts of resources. Memories appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Back then, he was chased out of his home and was a weakling that wasn't familiar with the Canopy Great Country. That was a low point in Zhao Feng's life. In that period of time, he used the identity of the Flooding Lake City Lord's son-in-law to receive good resources and cultivate with ease. Apart from forcing him into the marriage, the Flooding Lake City Lord genuinely admired him and gave him resources. He truly thought of Zhao Feng as his son-in-law. If it weren't for the fact that the city lord had invested so much emotionally, he wouldn't have gotten so angry over Zhao Feng's escape. I lived the lowest point of my life in the Flooding Lake City. After that came my rise. I appreciate your help. Furthermore, Xianxia, when Zhao Feng thought up to here, his heart was filled with gratefulness and guilt, especially since Xianxia seemed to have had an accident in the inheritance. Normally, when one didn't return from an inheritance, their chance of death was 99%. It was because of this that Zhao Feng wasn't willing to counterattack. Lu Jiutian, you probably won't be able to catch or kill this brat alone. The soft voice of a woman sounded. The owner of this voice was the Qin Sword Palace Master. Qin Sword Palace Master, if you help me kill him, I'll owe you a favor, the Flooding Lake City Lord said. If he wasn't able to take down Zhao Feng in his own territory, not only would he lose face, the entire Lu family's name would be tarnished. Brother Lu is too kind. The Iron Blood religion is our enemy. The Qin Sword Palace Master smiled and laughed in her heart. She hadn't participated because she was waiting for this favor. If I can help Lu Jiutian take down Zhao Feng, not only will he give me the Sky Qin 9 music, I'll also be able to take what Zhao Feng got from the mysterious inheritance. The Qin Sword Palace Master's heart moved when she thought up to here. It was due to this that she had to help the Flooding Lake City Lord take down Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, you betrayed the Lu family's trust and love when you ran away. How dare you come back to the Flooding Lake City? I shall take you down. The Qin Sword Palace Master's expression went cold as a qin and a shining sword appeared in front of her. She held the qin in one hand while controlling the sword with her other. In that instant, the sound of thundering horses surged toward Zhao Feng. Qin Sword Twin Desolation. The sword glowed with a three-colored light as it spat out beams of swordlight that pierced toward Zhao Feng. The combination of the qin and sword was perfect. The sound from the qin became an invisible power that disrupted and shocked the soul and could harm the weaker organs of the body. With this qin, even an army wouldn't be able to get close to the Qin Sword Palace Lord. Those under the True Lord rank could be instantly killed. The sword technique was the legendary flying sword technique, which allowed one to control a sword through the air and send sword beams continuously from every direction. Not good. It's the Qin Sword Palace Master. Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi exclaimed. The two hadn't realized that there was another True Lord rank here apart from the Flooding Lake City Lord, and it was even a major figure like the Qin Sword Palace Master. One emperor, 3 sects for families. The 8 great forces of the Canopy Great Country decided the fate of the country. The Qin Sword Palace Master was a leader of one of the 3 sections. Her status was comparable to the deputy patriarch of the Iron Blood religion. The situation instantly changed when the Qin Sword Palace Master attacked. Her Qin Sword Twin Desolation attack came from the back and pincered Zhao Feng. Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi couldn't help but curse. This Qin Sword Palace Master's extremely shameless. Even when they have more people, she's using sneak attacks. In terms of battle power, the Qin Sword Palace Master wasn't exceptional among the top experts, but in terms of troublesomeness, she was definitely amongst the top. The combination of qin and sword made most True Lord ranks' heads hurt. Good. The Qin Sword Palace Master is said to be a specialist in teamwork. If her Qin Sword Twin Desolation works in tandem with another True Lord rank, they are very likely to kill the enemy. The flooding Lake City Lord's eyes lit up as he saw the Qin Sword Palace Master attack. Qin Wind Sword Rain. The sound of the Qin in the air suddenly became chaotic as sword beams covered the sky, closing off Zhao Feng's path of retreat. The Qin Sword Palace Master's attack was not limited to just the physical world. Her Qin could also shake the soul. Where did this woman come from, and how dare she interrupt us? Zhao Feng's expression dimmed. The Qin Sword Palace Master's attack was restricting his movement. He was only not attacking the flooding Lake City Lord because of his help in the past and because of Lu Qinxin. However, he didn't know this woman. This meant that he didn't need to hold back. Zhao Feng harumphed coldly as he sent a chain of wind and lightning thrashing around and causing havoc. Boom! Bam! The Qin Wind Sword Rain shattered from the chaotic chain of wind and lightning. The flooding Lake City Lord, who was currently closing in, felt a numbing sensation and was pushed back. Such a powerful use of wind and lightning. The expression of the two true Lord ranks changed dramatically. Their attacks had been shattered into pieces by just one move from Zhao Feng. Shua! Wind and lightning flashed. Watch out! The flooding Lake City Lord warned. In the next instant, a powerful gust of wind and a numbing sensation descended upon the Qin Sword Palace Master. Shua! A blue-haired figure appeared next to her. Such speed! How is this possible? The Qin Sword Palace Master's face lost color. One hand was holding the Qin while the other was controlling the sword, and she couldn't react in time. It was obvious that the speed Zhao Feng displayed before was him conserving his power. His current speed was almost twice as fast as before. Bang! A ball of wind and lightning condensed on Zhao Feng's palm and shattered the Qin in front of the Qin Sword Palace Master. You broke my 6 combined swaying Qin. The Qin Sword Palace Master's elegance disappeared and was replaced by anger, panic, and fear. Killing intent flashed in her eyes as her other hand controlled the sword and turned it into a 3-colored streak of light that pierced toward Zhao Feng. Humph! Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye suddenly released a power that seemed to be able to shake the Qin Sword Palace Master's mind and soul. Dang! The flying sword being controlled by the Qin Sword Palace Master suddenly fell from the air. Zhao Feng's soul was comparable to a sovereign, and his mental energy pressure almost made the Qin Sword Palace Master's mind shatter. Save me. The Qin Sword Palace Master's face was as white as paper. Her hair and clothes blew in the wind, revealing snow-white skin. This will teach you to interfere in someone else's business. Zhao Feng expressionlessly kicked outward. Bam! The foot landed on the Qin Sword Palace Master's chest. You! The Qin Sword Palace Master felt a mixture of embarrassment and hatred as she vomited blood and went flying. With a bam, the ruler of one of the 8 great forces of the Canopy Great Country was sent flying from the sky. The experts of the flooding Lake City were dazed, while Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Ye's eyes almost bulged out. It wasn't as if they thought that Zhao Feng couldn't protect himself against the 2 true Lord ranks. After all, they heard rumors about Zhao Feng in the cloud area, but it was still shocking. He indeed deserves the title of overwhelming prodigy. The Qin Sword Palace Master couldn't fight back at all. Even if those 2 work together, they can't stop him at all. Jiang Sanfeng's heart was filled with excitement after the shock passed. Chapter leader's way too casual. How could he kick that part of a woman? Dai Ye's face was slightly red. However, she could tell that Zhao Feng didn't kick there on purpose. It was as if the Qin Sword Palace Master was only a skeleton in Zhao Feng's eyes. At the same moment, Hua! The experts within the flooding Lake City reacted and broke out into chaos. He's too fast. How can the difference between true Lord ranks be so big? Zhao Feng's actions were too fast, so most of the people didn't see it clearly. However, they did see the Qin Sword Palace Master get sent flying with one kick, and they were stunned. See, the flooding Lake City Lord took in a cold breath not far away. He looked at Zhao Feng with a complex expression that contained wariness, shock, and a sense of luckiness that he couldn't explain. Back when he first met Zhao Feng, the flooding Lake City Lord found out about Zhao Feng's talented bloodline and his god's spiritual eye. It was because of this admiration that he forced Zhao Feng to become his future son-in-law. And today proved that he was right to do so. His future son-in-law had become a dragon and an overwhelming prodigy. Zhao Feng's strength was greater than even his own. Zhao Feng, I'll return the humiliation today 10 times over. Hatred appeared in the Qin's sword palace master's eyes as she touched her chest and coughed out more blood. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. He thought that his kick just now could make this woman not able to stand up for half a day. However, he didn't consider that the part he kicked was extremely soft, which nullified some of his power. But even then, the Qin sword palace master was severely injured and could barely manage to stand up. Adding on the fact that her Qin was destroyed, her current battle power had dropped by 30 to 40%. So, the Qin sword palace master turned into a streak of light that sped away. Return it 10 times over? You won't have the chance. Zhao Feng snickered coldly as his eye turned azure, and he prepared to use a wind lightning eye flame or azure piercing slash to kill her. Stop! The flooding Lake City Lord shouted. He sensed a power from Zhao Feng's eye bloodline that made his heart tremble. He had gone to the sacred True Dragon Gathering and seen Zhao Feng's eye techniques. The flooding Lake City Lord knew that if Zhao Feng successfully used this attack, the Qin Sword Palace Master would certainly die. City Lord Lu. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and his killing intent disappeared, letting the Qin Sword Palace Master live. The Qin Sword Palace Master, who was currently running away, suddenly felt an aura of death sweep by her. She didn't seem to realize that her life almost reached its end. Zhao Feng, I recognize your strength. Probably not many people in the great country are your match. The flooding Lake City Lord sighed. Facing this future son-in-law, he felt helpless. With the strength Zhao Feng had just displayed, the City Lord knew that it would be useless even if he and the Qin Sword Palace Master teamed up. However, the flooding Lake City Lord was also puzzled. Zhao Feng was apparently ruthless toward some people, such as the Qin Sword Palace Master just now. The act of killing her could be achieved with a single thought. However, Zhao Feng was warm toward the flooding Lake City Lord, allowing him to attack without ever fighting back. The flooding Lake City Lord started to sweat coldly. If it were anyone else, Zhao Feng probably would have killed them long ago. Tell me why you're here. The flooding Lake City Lord started to ponder as he spoke. From Zhao Feng's current attitude, it was as if he never thought of the City Lord as an enemy in the first place. He even let the Qin Sword Palace Master live because of the City Lord's request. I've already told you that I'm here to fulfill my promise, taking Qin as my wife. Zhao Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Hearing this, everyone broke out into discussion. Everyone, the flooding Lake City Lord, Lu Yuan, Zhang Sanfeng, Dai Yi was incredulous. You really came back to take Qin as your wife? The flooding Lake City Lord's expression was extremely colorful. Zhao Feng nodded his head guiltily. But I didn't know that she didn't return. Nothing went as planned. Back then, the flooding Lake City Lord forced Zhao Feng into the marriage and the latter ending up fleeing the country. Now Zhao Feng returned, and the bride-to-be wasn't even here. The flooding Lake City Lord inspected Zhao Feng for a long time before sighing. Flowers blossom and wilt. Come with me. A while later, within a building in the City Lord's palace, Lu Jutian, Zhao Feng, Dai Yi, and Zhang Sanfeng were sitting in the room. Qin entered the Sky St. Qin inheritance. It's not a big inheritance compared to the 4 great inheritances, but it's extremely mysterious and unusual. This inheritance has only appeared 2 or 3 times in the last 10,000 years, and not much is known about it. Lu Jutian said. Back at the sacred True Dragon Gathering, Zhao Feng and the other overwhelming prodigies fought fiercely to enter inheritances. Amongst them, Yu Tianhao and Xian Wuheng entered the Heaven's Legacy inheritance. Song Yuyue entered the 7-Sword inheritance. Goddess Bingwei and Tantai Lanyue entered the Mystic Ice inheritance. Zhao Feng didn't pay much attention to the others. For example, Prince Jin, Tian Yunji, Wang Xiaoguai, and Lu Qinxin all chose their own inheritances. The number of people from the Canopy Great Country that managed to enter an inheritance this time far exceeds the others. But Lu Qinxin was the only one from the Canopy Great Country that didn't return. Bitterness appeared on the flooding Lake City Lord's face as his eyes became depressed. Listening up to hear, Zhao Feng's heart struggled and couldn't stay calm. It wasn't just guilt. It was as if there was something weird in his heart. Zhao Feng's calm heart seemed to crack. He had an instant where, if he did nothing about it, the crack in his heart would only widen. Is this a heart knot? Zhao Feng didn't think that Lu Qinxin's accident would affect him so much. It wasn't like he never thought that maybe if Lu Qinxin died, the promise wouldn't be valid anymore. However, once Zhao Feng started thinking like this, that feeling in his heart would strengthen and the crack would grow bigger. Slowly, signs of a struggle appeared on Zhao Feng's face and he started to sweat coldly. Fenger! The flooding Lake City Lord's expression changed dramatically as he exclaimed. He didn't seem to notice that he called Zhao Feng what he used to call him back when he lived at the City Lord Palace. Zhao Feng's left eye turned into a cold blue, which instantly calmed him down. However, he knew this wouldn't fix the crack in his heart. Zhao Feng, the flooding Lake City Lord spoke in a solemn tone. I hope that Qinxin's accident won't affect the state of your heart. You're the best prodigy of the Azure Flower Continent and the #1 genius in the Canopy Great Country. Qinxin's spirit in heaven wouldn't want to see you affected because of her. The flooding Lake City Lord's eyes started to get teary as he spoke on. When Zhao Feng heard Qinxin's spirit in heaven, he seemed to be hit by lightning and was dazed. Uncle Lu, we can't conclude whether Qinxin has died or not without evidence. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. He suddenly recalled how Zhao Yufei hadn't returned to the Azure Flower Continent either, and she wasn't dead. He knew the chance was slim though. Fenger, you don't need to comfort me. The flooding Lake City Lord shook his head. It had already been a year since the end of the sacred True Dragon gathering. The past was the past. Zhao Feng didn't argue back. He also knew that the chance of Qinxin still being alive was very small. Uncle Lu, what can I do? Zhao Feng's emotions couldn't be calmed. The flooding Lake City Lord's eyes twinkled as he inspected this overwhelming prodigy. Zhao Feng's strength was unfathomable and the flooding Lake City Lord couldn't see through it. He knew that Zhao Feng had potential and could probably do whatever he asked. However, this thought soon flashed by in the flooding Lake City Lord's mind. Zhao Feng, we need to confirm whether she's dead or not first and fix your heart knot. The flooding Lake City Lord said slowly. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised. The flooding Lake City Lord didn't ask for something ridiculous and was helping him instead. Of course, both the flooding Lake City Lord and Zhao Feng wanted to know whether Lu Qinxin had died or not anyway. May I ask Uncle Lu what I can do to confirm whether she's alive or dead? Zhao Feng started to think. Inheritances were extremely far away from the Azure Flower Continent and they didn't know the specific location of the Sky St. Qin inheritance. There's two ways. The flooding Lake City Lord paused before speaking. The first is to find the Sky St. Qin inheritance yourself or wait for the next couple sacred True Dragon gatherings and find someone to go inside to find out. Zhao Feng and the others shook their heads. This method relied too much on luck. The Sky St. Qin inheritance had only appeared 2 or 3 times in the last 10,000 years. Who knew when it might appear again? Furthermore, the sacred True Dragon gathering was only held once every 10 years. The second method, the Tao of divination, can see results of the future. The flooding Lake City Lord's eyes lit up. Divination. Zhao Feng's eyes lit up as well. The 6 warlock divine sage of the Canopy Great Country may have this power. The only problem is that I've asked to meet the sage several times, but I've never had the fortune to do so. 6 warlock divine sage? Zhao Feng's eyes squinted as he glanced toward Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi next to him. It wasn't the first time Zhao Feng had heard of the title 6 warlock divine sage. He suddenly remembered Lu Qinxin telling him the story of the sage taking disciples. The sage took in 3 female disciples who cultivated the Tao of life, the Tao of charm, and the Tao of entertainment, respectively. The one who cultivated the Tao of charm was Empress Qin. This knowledge wasn't much of a secret among the upper echelon of the Canopy Great Country. According to what Lu Qinxin said, the one who cultivated the Tao of entertainment was her mother, who was killed by Empress Qin. Qinxin's master was the one who cultivated the Tao of life, and her master had told her to change her name because it concerned her future. This meant that Lu Qinxin was a junior of both the Tao of life and the Tao of entertainment cultivators. An image slowly formed in Zhao Feng's mind. So, Qinxin Sr. is the sixth warlock divine sage. Zhao Feng couldn't help but say, "That's right." Qinxin even got to meet the sage before the sacred true dragon gathering. At that time, the sage calculated that the chance of the Heaven's legacy inheritance connecting to the continent was rising. The flooding Lake City Lord started to think. Zhao Feng went silent. It seemed like the sixth warlock divine sage wasn't simple. Even Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi coming to the cloud area had the sixth warlock divine sage behind it. At that time, Zhao Feng was puzzled as to why the deputy patriarch of the Iron Blood religion was so sure that Zhao Feng didn't die in the inheritance, and why the deputy patriarch was trying so hard to find him. If one didn't come back after so long, they were most likely dead. The deputy patriarch has indeed met the sage and sent people to find chapter leader Zhao. We're just one of the groups sent to the cloud area. Jiang Sanfeng nodded his head and confirmed. Indeed, Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. The more he knew, the more mysterious the sage seemed. Although the sixth warlock divine sage didn't participate in the Canopy Great Country's matters, his status was extremely high. The sage was extremely knowledgeable and knew almost everything. Arrays, divination, geography. Rumors said that even those at the Origin Core realm went to visit the sage. Looks like I need to go to the sixth warlock divine tower. Zhao Feng decided and slowly stood up. To begin with, he and the flooding Lake City Lord were enemies because of the Iron Blood religion and the Lu family's relationship. The flooding Lake City Lord knew this as well and knew Zhao Feng couldn't stay here for long. Zhao Feng, the sage has been in seclusion and didn't even see Empress Qin. The flooding Lake City Lord warned. Empress Qin was the sage's disciple. So one could see how hard it was to visit the sage from the fact that even the sage's disciple couldn't see the sage. No matter how hard it is, it's always worth a try. Zhao Feng rose, said goodbye, and left the city lord's palace with Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi. At this point in time, the experts of the Lu family near the flooding Lake City could only watch the gold and green bird take the three away. No one dared to stop them. A while later, the news of Zhao Feng suppressing two true lord ranks spread across the flooding Lake City. Could be imagined that, not long after that first piece of news spread, the news of Zhao Feng returning to the continent would spread across the entire Canopy Great Country. We're going to Taigon Mountain first, Zhao Feng said faintly as he sat on the gold and green bird. Although Jiang Sanfeng was puzzled, he didn't hesitate before heading toward Taigon Mountain. Half the time it took to make tea later, Zhao Feng met Master Taigon. Zhao Feng, you're back? Master Taigon was surprised. His eyes almost bulged out as he saw Zhao Feng. After the sacred true dragon gathering, Zhao Feng was considered an overwhelming prodigy, and there were many rumors of him not returning from the inheritance. Like most people, Master Taigon thought that Zhao Feng died in the inheritance, and he didn't have much hope. Master Taigon, I'm here for something today. Zhao Feng went straight to the matter at hand. 2 years ago, Zhao Feng came here to participate in crafting the Wheel of Light and Darkness. Although Zhao Feng didn't see the original blueprints and didn't participate in the most important process, he knew everything about the actual parts. The images of all the parts were still clear in his mind. It wouldn't be too hard if they wanted to craft a simplified version of the Wheel of Light and Darkness. With your current cultivation and control, it wouldn't be difficult to craft a simplified version of the Wheel of Light and Darkness, or even the whole thing if you worked with me. Master Taigon laughed. He was obviously very confident in Zhao Feng. Back when they successfully crafted the Wheel of Light and Darkness, half the work was done by Zhao Feng. At that time, Zhao Feng was only at the measly 6th or 7th sky of the Ascended Realm, and his eye bloodline power wasn't even 1/10 as strong as it was now. Of course, that's as long as you have the materials. I believe the Iron Blood religion shouldn't be that poor. However, if you want to craft the complete Wheel of Light and Darkness, you'll need the Deputy Patriarch to agree, as I need to keep the original blueprints a secret. Master Taigon's words took a turn. Even if Zhao Feng wanted to create a simplified version, the amount of resources needed was still enormous. You don't need to worry about resources. Plus, I don't need a complete version. Zhao Feng's smile contained confidence. How many spoils of war had he gotten from the Purple Saint ruins and killing all those true lord ranks? Because of First Elder's limit in his cultivation, he wouldn't be able to use the completed version of the Wheel of Light and Darkness anyway. One had to know that the Deputy Patriarch's half-step origin core realm cultivation was barely enough to use the power of the Wheel of Light and Darkness. A while later, Zhao Feng and Master Taigon entered the forge. Shua! Zhao Feng took out a huge bunch of precious resources and mountains of primal crystal stones. Is this enough? Zhao Feng asked. It is. It's more than enough to even craft the real thing. Master Taigon's eyes stood out. They were filled with excitement and love as he looked at the pile of resources. Most of the resources here were extinct on this continent. Back when the Deputy Patriarch wanted to craft the Wheel of Light and Darkness, he had used countless resources, and even the Iron Blood religion couldn't easily craft a second one. However, Zhao Feng seemed to pull out such resources with ease. The value of these resources is more than enough to craft the real thing if you wanted, but they will take about half a month to sort out. Master Taigon said. Although the resources that Zhao Feng took out were extremely similar to the original resources, there were some slight differences. Okay. In this half a month, I'll be at the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Zhao Feng wasn't surprised. He sent people to find resources in the cloud area, but because the cloud area was far away, some resources couldn't be found and required substitutes. After that task was done, Zhao Feng, Jiang Sanfeng, and Dai Yi left. This Zhao Feng's so rich. Master Taigon couldn't help but think as he watched the three leave. The resources that Zhao Feng took out were worth more than 10 times the value of a simplified Wheel of Light and Darkness, but Zhao Feng gave the leftovers to Master Taigon as payment. Master Taigon obviously didn't know that Zhao Feng even had a legendary Earth-grade item. Why would he care about some spiritual-grade items? Even 10,000 spiritual-grade items together wouldn't worth an Earth-grade item. The rank of a complete Wheel of Light and Darkness was between the high-tier and peak-tier spiritual grade. A simplified version would be just above a normal middle-tier spiritual grade since it needed to function as First Elder's arm. Dang! 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 After the three left, the items in the forge started to tremble, as if they were scared of something. What's going on? Master Taigon's expression changed dramatically. This didn't happen even when the Wheel of Light and Darkness was created. However, being a blacksmith, he soon remembered the uneasiness of the items that were crafted by him when Zhao Feng entered the forge. When Zhao Feng left, these items seemed to let out a breath. Only items at the peak-tier spiritual grade or broken earth-grade items can have such an effect, but most of those are in the hands of sovereigns. Master Taigon thought about Zhao Feng's secrets. Several days later, the gold and green bird entered the depths of a hill. Chapter leader, we're almost at the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Dai Yi pointed toward the front. Zhao Feng smiled. I already see it. His god's spiritual eye saw a pitch-black 6-sided tower. The 6 Warlock Divine Tower had 49 floors, and it was enveloped by a mysterious power that managed to slightly resist Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. Out of respect, Zhao Feng didn't circulate his bloodline power in case it made the sage unhappy. So. The three put away the gold and green bird and descended in front of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Shua! Zhao Feng was the first to arrive and he didn't conceal his true lord rank aura. There were currently dozens of visitors here. Many of them were at the true spirit realm, and 4 or 5 of them were at the true lord rank. Another true lord rank has arrived, and he's so young. The expressions of some visitors changed. Even the other true lord ranks inspected Zhao Feng with surprise. It's him. It's actually him. Zhao Feng, one of the 5 overwhelming prodigies of the sacred true dragon gathering. Exclamations came from the visitors. Many quickly recognized Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng also saw some familiar figures. Zhao Feng's arrival caused the people in front of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower to break into discussion. Zhao Feng is one of the 5 overwhelming prodigies from the sacred true dragon gathering. Some of the people immediately recognized him. Over half a year had passed since the end of the sacred True Dragon gathering, and the name of the overwhelming prodigies spread across the continent. Amongst the 5 overwhelming prodigies, Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao were the Lord Prodigies who stood at the top of the current era. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned through the crowd, and he saw some familiar figures. There were Prince Jin, Tian Yunji, and even Mo Tianyi from the Heavenly Yuan clan. Apart from them, there was also a splendid woman dressed entirely in black whose aura was uniquely weird. When the woman in black saw Zhao Feng, she paused slightly. "Zhao Feng, you came back from the inheritance? How's Sister Yufei doing?" Mo Tianyi asked urgently as soon as he saw Zhao Feng. The whole reason he was at the 6 Warlock Divine Tower in the first place was to confirm whether Zhao Yufei was alive or not. She hadn't returned to the continent even after being in the mysterious inheritance for 6 months. But the Heavenly Yuan clan never gave up. When Mo Tianyi asked his question, all the experts at the True Spirit Realm, especially those at the True Lord rank, listened up. The most recent sacred True Dragon gathering was the best one in several millennia. Not only had all 4 great inheritances descended, there was even a powerful unknown inheritance. Before this, the 2 that entered that unknown inheritance hadn't returned. But now one of them was back, so the others were all curious. Mo Tianyi. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and didn't immediately answer the question. There were many people in front of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Why would Zhao Feng easily give out information about the unknown inheritance? Mo Tianyi felt slightly awkward. He had rushed it. It wasn't a good place to talk about these secrets. The people that were listening were obviously disappointed, and the eyebrows of some of the True Lord ranks furrowed, obviously dissatisfied. Zhao Feng stood with a confident smile and his hands behind his back. With his strength, he didn't fear anything. "Brother Zhao, I'm very surprised to see you here. I believe the elders of the Heavenly Yuan clan would be happy to see you." Mo Tianyi smiled and greeted Zhao Feng. He didn't immediately follow up on the mysterious inheritance. Prince Jin, Tian Yunji, and company soon came to greet Zhao Feng as well. Even those that didn't know him came to introduce themselves. It was a glory to talk with an overwhelming prodigy, and such a tale could be told to their friends later on. Zhao Feng humbly interacted with the experts. "Since everyone's waiting here, what's the situation in the 6 Warlock Divine Tower?" Zhao Feng asked. There were obviously many people here that wanted to ask for pointers or needed divination. Tian Yunji wanted to thank the sage and receive pointers. Mo Tianyi was here to ask the sage for the location of Zhao Yufei. The sage has been in seclusion for the last couple months and is divining the future of the continent. No one knows when the sage will come out. It might be soon or it might be a while. That's right, we're all waiting here for the sage. This is a chance. Everyone babbled. Zhao Feng got the gist of the situation after hearing everything. Simply put, this was a line, and everyone was waiting. "I need to craft the wheel of light and darkness and return to the headquarters of the Iron Blood religion." Zhao Feng thought. He couldn't wait too long, but if he left halfway, he might miss the chance of meeting the sage. When the sage exited seclusion, the sage might start traveling all over the place. It would be hard to find the sage at that time. So, Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi flew over and landed on Zhao Feng's left and right. "Chapter leader, let me try. Maybe if the sage knew that one of the overwhelming prodigies was here, he'll come out." Jiang Sanfeng smiled and suggested. He wanted to finish this as soon as possible so that Zhao Feng could return to the Iron Blood religion. Zhao Feng didn't stop it, his silence signaling Jiang Sanfeng to try. "May the priests of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower report that chapter leader Zhao, one of the 5 overwhelming prodigies, is here." Jiang Sanfeng raised his head and shouted at the figures in the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Apart from the legendary sage, there were other experts and priests present. One of the 5 overwhelming prodigies? The figures in the 6 Warlock Divine Tower looked curiously below. After all, it wasn't just the sage that could divine things. The 5 overwhelming prodigies of this era surpass the past several dozen generations and will lead the future of this continent. Some of the priests knew some divination. Therefore, Zhao Feng's appearance also attracted the curiosity of some experts within the Six Warlock Divine Tower. Some of the divination experts looked at Zhao Feng with twinkling eyes and started to divine his future. However, most of them didn't get any results. One of the white-bearded elders closed his eyes and started to divine further with a trembling body. Wah! Blood streaked out from the white-bearded old man's mouth. "Master!" the nearby priests exclaimed as they went to support him. "He's indeed worthy of being an overwhelming prodigy." The sage once said they would lead the peak of the continent and are closely connected with the legacy of the heavens. The white-bearded old man wiped off the blood as he closely inspected the blue-haired youth. The temporary chaos in the Six Warlock Divine Tower made the dozens of people below look at each other. None of them would have thought that a master of divination would cough up blood when doing divination on Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng remained unmoved and didn't bother with the priests in the Six Warlock Divine Tower. Seniors of the Six Warlock Divine Tower, the chapter leader has an important issue to ask the sage. "I hope you can let him in," Jiang Sanfeng quickly said. Hearing this, the group in front of the Six Warlock Divine Tower were expectant. Maybe an overwhelming prodigy could receive special treatment from the Six Warlock Divine Tower. Coldness flashed through the eyes of the woman covered in black next to Prince Jean. The white-bearded old man in the Six Warlock Divine Tower coughed. "The sage said he'll appear when the time is right. Although I'm very interested in helping an overwhelming prodigy, I don't have the ability to do so." Hearing this, the group was disappointed. Zhao Feng wasn't surprised. He turned to the woman in black next to Prince Jean. "Empress, we haven't met in a while." Zhao Feng smiled. His gaze seemed to see through the black veil covering the woman's face. "You?" The woman was surprised and harumphed coldly as she ripped off the black veil, revealing an exotic face. Her every action and every breath brought a maximum amount of charm. "Empress Qin." The experts present were surprised. Most of them didn't know that even Empress Qin was waiting for the sage. If even the disciple of the sage has to wait, looks like we won't be able to see the sage easily. Many shook their heads and sighed. With Empress Qin revealing herself, the atmosphere became tense. Zhao Feng and Empress Qin stared at each other. The latter didn't hide her coldness or her intent, releasing her true lord rank aura. Back then, the news of Zhao Feng kidnapping Empress Qin had shocked the great country. When had Empress Qin ever been humiliated like that before? Now that they met once more, her eyes were red. "Zhao Feng, the warrant for you from the Imperials hasn't expired yet." Empress Qin didn't have any respect for Zhao Feng. She also knew that her Tao of Charm had no effect on this overwhelming prodigy. "Is that right? Well, I don't mind kidnapping you again." Zhao Feng laughed with a mocking smile. "Kidnap the Empress again?" Hearing this, the hearts of everyone present were shocked. Zhao Feng was not just arrogant. His guts had reached the heavens. One had to know this was the canopy great country which was ruled by the Imperials. "You? How dare you say that to me?" A faint redness appeared on Empress Qin's face, and the hearts of many people sped up. Zhao Feng remained still and unaffected. The two looked at each other and, although Empress Qin was angry, she didn't do anything. Prince Jean, who was behind Empress Qin, was stunned. He couldn't imagine what level Zhao Feng had reached for him to mock Empress Qin so casually. And once this news was spread, the rumors would definitely say that Zhao Feng had hit on Empress Qin, increasing the tension between the Imperials and the Iron Blood religion. If this went badly, this could even spark a war between the two. "This Empress Qin can restrain herself from attacking me?" Zhao Feng was thinking about how to get the Empress even angrier or whether he should just take her down right now. Right at this moment. Meow! A weird shout of a cat sounded through the air. The hearts of many people moved as they turned toward the Six Warlock Divine Tower. Sang! A silver and black cat yawned lazily as it jumped out of the Six Warlock Divine Tower. "Is this the cat that's always with the sage?" The eyes of many people lit up. They had heard many rumors about the sage, and there was always a point that remained the same. There was a cat always with the sage no matter where he went. Sang! The lazy silver and black cat jumped onto Empress Qin's shoulder. Big lazy cat, you're not sleeping? Empress Qin had a happy expression. She seemed to be familiar with this big lazy cat. The silver and black cat's appearance instantly caught the attention of many people. From Empress Qin's reaction, it seemed like this cat was quite possibly the one always with the sage. Is the sage exiting seclusion? The eyes of the visitors lit up and they were full of urgency and expectation. The rumors said that there was a weird cat always with the sage. Now that that cat exited the 6 Warlock Divine Tower, did that mean the sage had exited seclusion? This cat! Zhao Feng paused, and his eyes twinkled. He had a cat himself, but more importantly, this cat's laziness actually contained an indescribable intelligence that couldn't be compared with normal beasts. This was a similarity between the little thieving cat and this big lazy cat. Furthermore, the timing of the big lazy cat's appearance was extremely coincidental. It came right as Zhao Feng and Empress Qin were locked onto each other, and Zhao Feng felt that this wasn't a coincidence. One had to know he was just thinking about how to make the Empress angrier, and whether or not he should just attack her on the spot. Big lazy cat, when's master coming out of seclusion? Empress Qin stroked the silver and black cat's fur, and she even took out some spiritual pills to feed the cat. At the same time, she let out a breath. In the standoff against Zhao Feng just now, Empress Qin felt a dangerous sensation come from him. Luckily, the big lazy cat's appearance broke the tense atmosphere between them. Meow! The big lazy cat was satisfied after eating some spiritual pills. Ding! 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 The big lazy cat leaned on Empress Qin's body as it threw several old bronze coins into the air. This scene made Zhao Feng's pupils shrink. After that, the big lazy cat waved its paws. You're saying that master's just finished, but is tired and will see the guests a while later? Empress Qin asked. The big lazy cat nodded its head and waved its paws again. Master wants to talk to me first? Hearing this, Empress Qin was overjoyed. She followed the big lazy cat and walked toward the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Meow! With the big lazy cat leading the way, none of the experts of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower stopped them, but the other visitors were all stopped outside the tower, including Zhao Feng. Priest, if the sage can meet Empress Qin, may you ask if he can let us in too? These visitors were obviously unwilling. No, only Empress Qin is invited. Without the sage's permission, no one can enter. The guards were unmoved. Lord Lazy Cat, please let us in. Hee. Lord Lazy Cat, I have some precious and rare beautiful cats for your pleasure. Greetings, Lord Lazy Cat. Here's some gifts for you. These visitors were obviously extremely cunning, trying a variety of methods to interact with the big lazy cat. The big lazy cat never left the sage's side and had a close relationship with him. This meant that he was the representative of the sage, and everything might depend on one word from this cat. Meow! The big lazy cat glanced toward the people in disdain and walked toward the tower. Damn it! The visitors all panicked, including Emotiani. Many of them had important matters that couldn't be delayed. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. Lu Qinxin's matter was extremely important. Even without mentioning any other aspect, it was a heart knot that needed to be fixed. Meow meow. A familiar provocative sound came from next to Zhao Feng's ear. Meow. The big lazy cat's body immediately turned around. A silver-gray cat, half the size of the big lazy cat and with eyes like gems, sat on Zhao Feng's shoulder. Ding! Ding! The little thieving cat threw some old bronze coins in the air and glanced at the big lazy cat nonchalantly. Little thieving cat, is this lazy cat from your race? Zhao Feng had a weird expression. After all, there were many similarities between the two, and if the two liked each other, maybe Zhao Feng could see the sage quickly. Meow meow. The little thieving cat arrogantly waved its paws, gesturing that it was the only one under the heavens, full of provocation as it looked at the big lazy cat. Meow. The big lazy cat seemed to become angry as a coldness and a warning appeared in its eyes. It bared its teeth and waved its paws, and it was hard to imagine what the big lazy cat was saying. This is my territory. I'm the boss here. Meow meow. The little thieving cat put away the old bronze coins, then flipped around and started waving its butt around toward the big lazy cat. The big lazy cat paused. It was puzzled, but then it saw a streak of yellow piss come out from between the little thieving cat's legs. Ha 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 ha! This thieving cat's quite courageous. It even dares to piss in front of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Many people were first stunned, then started to roar with laughter. Empress Qin's face became cold. She still had a fresh memory of the little thieving cat. Back at the capital, this thieving cat helped Zhao Feng kidnap her. Meow! The big lazy cat was immediately angry. It roared and sent a cold invisible intent toward the little thieving cat that made the hearts of some true lord ranks shake. The little thieving cat's actions obviously offended the big lazy cat. A mountain couldn't have 2 tigers, and this was the big lazy cat's territory. How could it allow another cat to piss right in front of him? Shwa! A faint black shadow flashed through the air and, although the big lazy cat was fat, it arrived in front of the little thieving cat in an instant. So fast. The experts at the True Spirit Realm were surprised. In terms of speed, the big lazy cat surpassed most of the people here. The next moment, pa! The big lazy cat struck toward the little thieving cat. In terms of size and strength, it far exceeded the little thieving cat. Whoosh! The little thieving cat's figure shattered. It was just an afterimage. Meow! The big lazy cat was surprised as it suddenly felt a gust of cold wind come from behind. Meow meow! The little thieving cat was like a ghost that appeared behind the big lazy cat as it struck toward the big lazy cat's head. Pa! The big lazy cat harumphed before quickly blocking the little thieving cat's paw and pushing the latter back several yards. Meow meow! The little thieving cat flipped in the air and landed steadily on the ground before disappearing once more. It was obvious the little thieving cat had no advantage in strength. The big lazy cat smiled mockingly before becoming a shadow and following the little thieving cat. Only Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye could see the little thieving cat clearly. All the other true lord ranks had to use their spiritual sense just to find some trails. This big lazy cat isn't simple. It can catch up to the little thieving cat to an extent. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. Back at the Purple Saint Ruins, Lu Tianyi and Yi Yanyu couldn't find the little thieving cat if they weren't on guard. Sang! Sang! So, Shwa! A big cat figure and a small cat figure were clashing together back and forth in front of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. The eyes of the visitors widened, but most of them couldn't see any details. Zhao Feng's indeed worthy of being an overwhelming prodigy. Just his cat alone is on par with the sage's cat. Although these 2 cats are small, their strength and ability far exceed normal beasts. The true lord ranks had sharp eyes, so they could tell that the history of these 2 cats wasn't simple. Zhao Feng's cat can actually fight with Master's big lazy cat? Hatred and jealousy appeared in Empress Qin's eyes. She knew the big lazy cat's abilities. If she had one like it, combined with her strength and intelligence, she might be enough to control the fate of the Canopy Great Country. However, there was a cat on par with the big lazy cat, and it was the pet of an enemy. Bam! Pa! Shoo! The 2 cats flashed through the air, becoming faster and faster. The big lazy cat had the power advantage, so it pushed the little thieving cat back whenever they clashed head-on. On the other hand, the little thieving cat was more agile, so it would daze the big lazy cat with its paws. However, the big lazy cat wasn't normal. It was only slightly affected by the stunning effect. Furthermore, as long as it wasn't hit on the head, it wouldn't be stunned at all. Meow meow! The little thieving cat suddenly screamed and waved its paws wildly, sending paw shadows through the air. The big lazy cat was shocked and started to lose the advantage. Even though its skin was thick and it was pretty agile, bloody marks would be left behind whenever it was hit by the paw shadows. This is the inheritance from the mysterious dagger. Zhao Feng's eyes lit up. This time, the little thieving cat didn't actually take out the mysterious dagger, borrowing its intent instead. It wasn't hard to imagine that, if Zhao Feng could gain comprehension from the Ice Imperial Spear, the little thieving cat could also comprehend the mysterious dagger. Comprehension? A cat that was just a few years old could do that? Zhao Feng was more and more curious about the history of the little thieving cat. At the beginning, the little thieving cat hatched from an egg. This was suspicious in and of itself, as cats were mammals, and mammals obviously didn't come from eggs. Meow meow. The little thieving cat's battle intent rose as it pushed the big lazy cat into the 6 warlock divine tower. Master. The 2 cats are now fighting inside the tower. The priests told the white-bearded elder who coughed up blood earlier. The big lazy cat was the representative of the sage, and now that it might be fighting with another cat of the same race, they didn't know what to do. We don't specialize in battle. That thieving cat's history is as unfathomable as the big lazy cat's. And it seems to be connected with the Tao of life and heaven's legacy. Maybe it's the dancer of fate. Maybe it's the dancer of fate. The white-bearded elder sighed as he watched the 2 cats jumping around. Because he didn't interfere, the others didn't either. The 2 cats were way too fast. Even the guards couldn't clearly see how they were fighting. When the little thieving cat used the mysterious dagger's intent, it gained the upper hand and started to give the big lazy cat a beating. However, the big lazy cat started to adjust. Although it didn't attack as much, it perfectly blocked the little thieving cat's strikes. This lazy cat's level of comprehension is high, and it specializes in defense. Zhao Feng inspected. Although the little thieving cat had the upper hand, it couldn't win within a short amount of time. The big lazy cat's stamina and attributes were obviously higher than the little thieving cat's, and the little thieving cat expended extra energy using the intent from the mysterious dagger. Ding! Ding! Shwa! A big cat and a small cat started to rise as they fought, and the 49 floors of the 6 warlock divine tower became their battlefield. Not good. They're getting closer to where the sage is in seclusion. A priest within the 6 warlock divine tower exclaimed, and the other guards and priests found something was amiss as well. Stop that cat! The 6 warlock divine tower broke into a panic. Cho! Cho! Shu, the big lazy cat, and the little thieving cat would occasionally miss their target, slightly damaging the tower. The guards flew over and tried to stop the little thieving cat. However, the 2 cats couldn't be separated, and their speed was too fast. Playfulness appeared within Zhao Feng below. The participation of the guards and priests made the situation more chaotic. Arg! There were several members of the tower who were accidentally injured by one another and started to scream. This scene surprised the visitors below, and many of them glanced deeply at Zhao Feng. No one thought that Zhao Feng's pet cat would be able to cause chaos in the 6 warlock divine tower. Was all of this planned by Zhao Feng? Zhao Feng, how dare you cause trouble at the 6 warlock divine tower? Do you know what the result will be if you offend the sage? Empress Qin's voice was cold, but gloating. Offend the sage? Zhao Feng realized the existence of some problems. There weren't many powerful people in the 6 warlock divine tower. There were only 1 or 2 true lord ranks, and they didn't even specialize in battle. How could such a weak force have such a high status in the Canopy Great Country then? Apparently, even sovereigns at the Origin Core realm came to visit the sage. But Zhao Feng couldn't recall ever hearing about anyone using force here. Zhao Feng, it's best not to offend the sage. Mo Tianyi said solemnly. Please speak. Zhao Feng remained calm. In reality, he hadn't ordered anything. The little thieving cat did everything on its own accord. Zhao Feng, according to what my master said, there was apparently a sovereign that used force here and threatened the sage. However, in less than 2 years' time, the sovereign died in a place of inheritance. Mo Tianyi paused. The fall of a sovereign? Zhao Feng's heart jumped. Was the death of this sovereign connected to the sage? The sage cultivates the Tao of life, and when one reaches the apex, they can not only divine the future, they can even change it to some extent. My master said the sovereign died because of the sage. When Mo Tianyi spoke up to hear, his face was full of respect, but Zhao Feng's heart was cold. There were millions and billions of Tao in this world. The Tao of martial arts, the Tao of the sword, the Tao of arrays, the Tao of body strengthening, the Tao of assassination, and when any Tao reached the apex, they would have unparalleled power. Furthermore, the sage was someone who cultivated the Tao of life. Zhao Feng didn't doubt what Mo Tianyi said, or precisely, what Mo Tianyi's master said. This was because Mo Tianyi's master was a sovereign and, being one of the 10 great forces of the continent, the heavenly Yuan clan must have a sovereign too. Zhao Feng finally understood why Empress Qin was gloating. The Tao of life? Maybe the sage can divine where my god's spiritual eye came from. Zhao Feng murmured expressionlessly in his heart. The strength of the sage made him overjoyed. The little thieving cat's history was also mysterious, but such a cat was willing to follow Zhao Feng because of his god's spiritual eye. The god's spiritual eye was Zhao Feng's biggest puzzle. Right at this moment. So, shwa, shwa. The two cats slowly closed in on where the sage was in seclusion. Wang. A mysterious star-symboled array flashed through the 49th floor, and Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye could barely sense it. This flash was different from any other power Zhao Feng had seen before. Lazy cat, invite the esteemed guest up. An old voice that contained a tinge of fatigue sounded from the top of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Although the 49th floor was extremely high up, the voice sounded from close by. Zhao Feng focused and managed to see that an old figure had appeared at the top of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. The old figure wore a black cloak and had eyes as bright as the night sky that seemed to contain infinite wisdom. The sage has exited seclusion. Greetings, sage. Everyone within the 6 Warlock Divine Tower soon calmed down. Meow. Meow meow. The two cats landed on the 49th floor and stood facing each other. They finally stopped sparring. The little thieving cat squinted and looked at the sage with a rare solemnness. The sage smiled and waved his hand, signaling the big lazy cat to greet the guest. Sang. Sang. The two cats landed in front of Zhao Feng. Meow meow. The little thieving cat jumped onto Zhao Feng's shoulder and nudged its owner's cheeks. Meow. The big lazy cat extended a paw and invited Zhao Feng up. How is this possible? Empress Qin's beautiful face was full of shock. That's right. The esteemed guest that the sage was talking about was Zhao Feng. No one knew the sage's intentions better than the big lazy cat. This junior feels guilty for disturbing the sage. Zhao Feng bowed apologetically before flying with the big lazy cat toward the peak of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. The sage has come out. Don't miss this chance. The remaining visitors couldn't suppress their excitement. The guards of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower were about to stop them, but the sage waved his hand gently and let everyone up. The group of visitors soon reached the peak of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. Although there were many people, they were silent. I've just exited seclusion not long ago and have divined the situation about the inheritances of the sacred True Dragon gathering. I believe many of you are here for this, the sage said. Zhao Feng, Emotiani, and company's eyes lit up. The sage knew some of their intentions. At this moment, Zhao Feng was slightly nervous because he knew the sage was going to answer the question. Any genius that returned from an inheritance has reaped great rewards, and their future is immeasurable. The sage smiled and glanced over Zhao Feng, Emotiani, Tian Yunji, Prince Jean, and company. Hearing this, no one retorted. Zhao Feng took this to heart. The rewards he had gained from the Purple Saint ruins weren't just great. The Wood Spirit Essence Soul allowed his soul to become comparable to the Origin Core Realm, and his chance of breaking through to the Origin Core Realm later in life was high. Apart from that, he also had the Wind Lightning Stone Tablet inheritance, the Ice Imperial Spear, and the 10,000 Ghost Pearl. Even the little thieving cat received an inheritance. These were all things that even sovereigns couldn't dream of. Emotiani, Tian Yunji, Prince Jean, and company were all silent as they agreed with the sage. They all met great fortune. The sage meant that this era would decide the future. Then how about those that didn't return? Emotiani couldn't help but ask. The sage just said that those that returned from an inheritance. The world is balanced. Those that haven't returned will face far more danger than fortune, no matter whether they are still alive or not. The sage's voice started to drop like leaves turning yellow and falling to the ground. Far more danger than fortune. When this was said, the hearts of many people present fell and Zhao Feng's heart shook. What the sage said wasn't as simple as it seemed. He said, far more danger than fortune. A sort of euphemism that most of them were already dead. However, this was also a divination for those still alive. Far more danger than fortune, no matter whether they are still alive or not. This meant that even those that weren't dead yet will most likely be so soon. Yufei. Zhao Feng's heart went cold and waves surged in his heart. The sage's divination not only included those that died in the inheritances, it also very likely included Lu Qinxin. Furthermore, whether they are still alive or not included Zhao Yufei. If you didn't return from the inheritance, even if you were still alive, you'll most likely die in the future. Then Sister Yufei, Mo Tianyi and company were depressed. At this instant, Zhao Feng, Mo Tianyi, and company were silent, and Zhao Feng was dazed. I thought that Qinxin would most likely be dead, but I didn't think that even Yufei would be in a dangerous situation. Zhao Feng's heart struggled. One was his fiancée, and the other was a friend he had known since he was young. And now these two females were facing far more danger than fortune. Zhao Feng could roughly guess Zhao Yufei's situation. She was most likely facing 3 two-star sections. The sage's divination made many of the visitors depressed, and they couldn't calm down. The result of the divination wasn't hard to understand. Those that came back from an inheritance had an immeasurable future, while those that didn't return were either dead or about to face a bunch of misfortune. At this point in time, Zhao Feng, Mo Tianyi, and some of the other visitors were silent and had weird expressions. The sage inspected Zhao Feng before answering some other questions. A while later, Zhao Feng's heart managed to calm down. At least I know how Yufei's doing. The Purple Saint partial spirit gave me a Purple Saint token, which is connected to the Purple Saint ruins. A purple-colored token appeared in Zhao Feng's palm. This was the Purple Saint token, which gave a faint ripple before disappearing. The Purple Saint partial spirit had explained the use of the token before. Could open a path into the inheritance, and if Zhao Yufei needed anything, or if Zhao Feng wanted to go the Purple Saint ruins, he could do so with the Purple Saint token. However, it was limited to only 3 uses. The key question is still whether Qinxin is dead or not. Zhao Feng let out a breath. Time passed by slowly. The visitors started to leave one after another. It was night, and the sage looked tired and was about to go rest. Zhao Feng and Mo Tianyi didn't leave quite yet. "Sage, I still need your help," Zhao Feng slowly said. The sage wasn't surprised and smiled. "Are you here for Lu Qinxin?" "That's right. May I ask the sage whether she is alive or not?" Zhao Feng went straight to the point. The sage's divination earlier was directed toward the whole group, whereas Zhao Feng was asking about a specific person this time. Zhao Feng, that Lu Qinxin entered an inheritance very far away and there are no trails whatsoever. You want to ask Master about whether she's alive or not. Ridiculous. Empress Qin's cold voice sounded. Zhao Feng remained unmoved as he looked at the sage, holding onto the last bit of hope. He knew that the divination required a certain amount of information and traces. Empress Qin obviously knew a bit about the Tao of life, so she knew that they lacked information and couldn't confirm anything about it. "Zhao Feng, I can't answer this question." The sage stood with his hands behind his back. There was no sign of emotion from him. "Can't answer this question?" Zhao Feng paused. The sage didn't say whether he could divine it or not. He said he couldn't answer it. "Sage, according to what I know, you're Qinxin's grandmaster." Zhao Feng didn't give up. He realized that the sage might know something but wasn't willing to tell him. However, the more it was like that, the more worried he was for Lu Qinxin. The sage didn't decline. He was silent for a while before finally speaking. "Qinxin's extremely talented in the Tao of life and the Tao of the Qin. I really liked her, and I was preparing for her to be my successor after she came out of the inheritance. Unfortunately," speaking up to hear, the sage sighed. It was as if fate made him feel helpless. Can't this Zhao Feng see that Qinxin's already dead? Why else wouldn't Master answer him? Empress Qin mockingly thought. She and Lu Qinxin were enemies. Lu Qinxin's master told her to change her name to the same as Empress Qin's in order to change fate and go against the heavens. Empress Qin obviously knew this and disliked it. "If I can't get a confirmed answer, my heart knot won't be untied." Zhao Feng bowed to the sage. "Zhao Feng, I can't answer you. The result of me changing fate isn't something I can handle." The sage shook his head bitterly. Hearing this, even Empress Qin was stunned. The sage seemed to be wary of something. He didn't dare to change Zhao Feng's fate or else something would happen. Meow meow. The little thieving cat revealed a look of understanding. Meow. The big lazy cat squinted its eyes and threw some old bronze coins into the air. It looked at Zhao Feng for a long time as its expression slowly turned into extreme fear. What's going on? The sage seems to know something about me, but he's scared of changing it because the result would be devastating. Zhao Feng had many questions. I can only give you some pointers. There's no such thing as absolute misfortune or absolute fortune. Even those that must die can come back to life. For example, one of the 8 god eyes, the Eye of Rebirth, has the ability to revive someone. The sage said calmly. The Eye of Rebirth, one of the 8 god eyes. Zhao Feng's left eye twitched as he heard this. There's such a heaven-defying eye bloodline that can even turn life and death around? Zhao Feng was utterly shocked. Although the words turning life and death around seemed to appear everywhere when it came to special items or resources, this kind of death was one where the person hadn't truly died yet. On the other hand, the Eye of Rebirth that was referenced by the sage had the capability to revive someone even if their body had turned to dust and their soul had dissipated. Of course, this is only in the legends. The 8 great god eyes rule the earth and each one of them has a heaven-defying ability. The Eye of Rebirth is only one of them. The sage smiled. Zhao Feng knew a thing or two about the legends of the 8 great god eyes. Accordingly, the 8 great god eyes were the ancestors of all the eye bloodlines in the world. The purple saint partial spirit even said that there were inheritances of the 8 great god eyes. As for why the inheritances of the 8 great god eyes didn't descend onto the azure flower continent, Zhao Feng didn't know. Maybe they were too powerful and the azure flower continent was unable to accept them, or maybe it was due to the fact that they were too far away and the dragon blessing of the azure flower continent wasn't enough. Thank you, sage. Nothing is absolute in this world. As long as I become strong enough, maybe I can change everything. Zhao Feng seemed to understand something and thanked the sage once more. When the sage mentioned the 8 great god eyes, Zhao Feng's bloodline suddenly became filled with excitement and battle intent. 8 great god eyes. 10,000 ancient races. I will one day face you all. Zhao Feng's goal suddenly changed, and all of this was due to the sage. Now do you know what to do? There was a tinge of happiness in the sage's eyes. This junior understands. The knot within Zhao Feng's heart started to untie as his path and vision became clear. His eyes shined. One day, I will walk out of this continent and travel around the outside world where there's 2-star and 3-star sects. When I'm strong enough, I can go directly to the Sky St. Qin inheritance. Zhao Feng's heart was suddenly cleansed. All that was left behind was the courage to pursue onward to the apex. At this instant, Zhao Feng closed his eyes and his soul underwent a cleansing process and became more condensed. In just a couple breaths, Zhao Feng's state of heart rose. His mental energy level reached the peak True Lord rank and was comparable to the half-step origin core realm. Although the power of his soul hadn't really increased, it became purer. Back at the Purple Saint ruins, the Wood Spirit Essence Soul allowed Zhao Feng's soul to increase by leaps and bounds. However, this made his foundation unstable, but with the help of the sage, Zhao Feng's soul became consolidated. Thank you, sage. I have one more question before I leave. Zhao Feng reached out and touched his left eye. I found your eye bloodline a long time ago. It's related to the 10,000 ancient races, but its exact source has exceeded my divination limit. However, I'm certain that it has the potential to reach the 8 great god eyes. The sage said. Hearing this, Zhao Feng was surprised. The sage was aware of his god's spiritual eye and said the exact same thing as the Purple Saint Partial Saint. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline was related to the 10,000 ancient races. Potential to reach the 8 great god eyes? Emotiani and Empress Qin were stunned. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline had the potential to reach the level of the 8 great god eyes, even though the chance was extremely small. Perhaps Emotiani and Empress Qin didn't know exactly how strong the 8 great god eyes were, but they were legendary for being the 8 strongest eye bloodlines in the world. Even Zhao Feng himself was surprised. He never thought his eye bloodline's potential was so great. The 8 great god eyes were the beginning of all eye bloodlines. For example, the Eye of Rebirth that the sage just talked about could revive people. What else could they do if they could already do such heaven-defying things? At least currently, Zhao Feng's God spiritual eye was nowhere near that level. After the last question, Zhao Feng stood up and got ready to leave. Zhao Feng. Mo Tianyi caught up immediately. Mo Tianyi? Are you worried about Yufei? Zhao Feng seemed to have expected this and smiled faintly. Brother Zhao, there are no outsiders here. You were the only one that entered the mysterious inheritance with Yufei. How is she doing? Is she still alive? Mo Tianyi took a deep breath. Instead of asking the sage, it was better for him to ask Zhao Feng. Outside the 6 Warlock Divine Tower, Mo Tianyi faced Zhao Feng and asked him about Zhao Yufei. Yufei is currently doing well. However, her fortune is too great, so it requires a lot of time. She probably won't be able to leave for at least a year or two. Zhao Feng didn't open his mouth, but his voice sounded in Mo Tianyi's head. He only gave a rough summary of Zhao Yufei's situation, without any specifics. After all, the Purple Saint Ruins was too big of a deal. Even 2-star sects were trying to get a slice of that cake. The Azure Flower continent didn't have the strength to compete against them. That's why Yufei is in danger. It's not easy for a mere true spirit realm to try to eat the entire cake. Zhao Feng was slightly worried. However, Zhao Yufei should be safe for now since the Purple Saint token had no reaction or call for help. Brother Zhao, what was inside the mysterious inheritance and where did it come from? Mo Tianyi couldn't suppress the curiosity in his heart. The unknown inheritance Zhao Feng entered was a mystery for everyone else. And when the unknown inheritance appeared, it seemed to be even better than the 4 great inheritances. Of course, the Heaven's Legacy inheritance that descended was only one of many inheritances. Mo Tianyi, I can't tell you too much about the inheritance. It's not good for you. If anything ever happens, even the heavenly Yuan clan behind you couldn't take it. Zhao Feng said expressionlessly. Hearing this, Mo Tianyi's heart jumped and he asked no more. He started to realize that the inheritance Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei entered was extremely important and could even bring disaster to the heavenly Yuan clan. Being the head disciple of the heavenly Yuan clan, Mo Tianyi's understanding of the cultivation world was better than most. He knew that the scale of 5 stars wasn't just a legend. After saying everything, Zhao Feng prepared to leave. Brother Zhao, wait a second. You might not have received this news yet. Mo Tianyi suddenly called out. What? Zhao Feng's footsteps stopped. There's a tradition after the sacred True Dragon gathering. The geniuses that return from the inheritances will gather together after being in seclusion and spar with each other. This is the True Dragon Tea Gathering. Mo Tianyi smiled, and his eyes was full of expectation and battle intent. True Dragon Tea Party? Zhao Feng didn't know there was such a thing. However, thinking about it, these geniuses all entered an inheritance and their strength must have increased after coming back. This event wasn't limited to just the normal True Dragon geniuses, even the 5 overwhelming prodigies would attend. Who knows how big of an improvement these True Dragon geniuses and overwhelming prodigies have made? A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. The host this time is the 3-eyed saint and goddess Bing, and the location is the Middle Continent. It starts 1 year after the end of the sacred True Dragon gathering. Mo Tianyi said, Okay, I'll go if I have time. He was slightly interested in the True Dragon Tea Party, but Zhao Feng had many problems to take care of. Brother Zhao, I heard Goddess Bing Wei reached the True Lord rank in the Mystic Ice Inheritance and has already defeated several True Lord ranks half a year ago. The 3-eyed saint is even more incredible. Mo Tianyi continued. Who's this 3-eyed saint? Zhao Feng suddenly stopped Mo Tianyi. No matter how he tried, he couldn't remember this 3-eyed saint. Oh, I forgot to tell you. The 3-eyed saint came first in both the previous Sacred True Dragon gathering and the one before that. If it weren't for the age restriction, Yu Tianhao might not have gotten first this time. Mo Tianyi explained. No wonder. Zhao Feng understood. This 3-eyed saint was a senior of previous Sacred True Dragon gatherings. Of course, he was at least 20 years older than Yu Tianhao, as the 3-eyed saint won 2 Sacred True Dragon gatherings before. On top of that, the 3-Eye Saint's family is an eye bloodline family that is ranked first in the continent. The ancestor, the 3-eyed Heavenly Emperor, is a legend, and his three eyes techniques are famed across the continent. Emotiani's face was full of wariness and respect when he said this. The strongest eye bloodline on the continent? This three-eyed saint does indeed have the right to host the True Dragon Tea Party then. Zhao Feng faintly nodded his head. Emotiani smiled. Zhao Feng, I know you aren't willing to succumb to the three-eyed saint, especially since their family has the strongest eye bloodline. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline was extremely powerful and everyone knew it. The power of his eye bloodline defeated Tuoba Feng and the Ghost-Eyed Man, members of two major eye bloodline families. Of course, my aim isn't just the strongest bloodline in the Azure Flower continent. Zhao Feng smiled and didn't hide his goal. His eye bloodline hadn't lost to anyone yet. Although Qi Gui from the Black Cliff Palace was strong, he still lost to Zhao Feng in the end. Now, with an eye bloodline prodigy appearing, Zhao Feng became more interested in the True Dragon Tea Party. Okay, we'll meet at the tea party then, Emotiani said expectantly and left. Zhao Feng didn't stay at the Six Warlock Divine Tower for long. He met up with Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi and returned to the flooding lake city, Taigon Mountain. About 10 days had passed since they left and Master Taigon had organized the materials needed for the simplified version of the Wheel of Light and Darkness. The materials are all here, and we used replacements for the ones we lack. Master Taigon told Zhao Feng the progress as they made the last preparations before crafting the simplified Wheel of Light and Darkness. Within a secret hall of Taigon Palace, Zhao Feng sat cross-legged as a dark mist suddenly came out of nowhere, revealing a gold and silver skeleton with two twitching red flames in its eye sockets. Skeletal Division Leader, you've already recovered 30 to 40% and it's only been a couple months. Zhao Feng inspected. The Skeletal Division Leader's recovery speed was faster than he thought it would be. From its aura, the Skeletal Division Leader had the battle power of at least a late-stage True Lord rank, and it was as troublesome as a peak-stage True Lord rank. Zhao Feng knew this was due to the 10,000 Ghost Pearl. The air of death within it was perfect for ghost corpses. Master, the progress has stalled with the 100 True Lord rank corpses. Although the air of death is plentiful in there, the resources are limited, and my cultivation hasn't returned to its peak. The Skeletal Division Leader sighed. The 100 Corpses plan was Zhao Feng's small ambition. He could use this to form an army of 100 True Lord ranks. One could only imagine how terrifying an army of 100 True Lord ranks would be. Once this plan was complete, it wouldn't even be hard for Zhao Feng to sweep across an entire great country. How many are done? Zhao Feng asked. One has been completed and another one's almost done in the past 2.5 months. The Skeletal Division Leader waved its hand and a smelly dark red ghost corpse appeared. The disgusting aura made Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrow. However, its early-stage True Lord rank battle power surprised Zhao Feng. The 100 Graves Forbidden Ground needed to kill 100 or more True Lord ranks and use their negative energy to form the curse. In reality, some of them had reached the peak True Lord rank before they died, meaning their difficulty rises. The Skeletal Division Leader cried bitterly. Zhao Feng couldn't help but click his tongue. That meant that this early-stage True Lord rank Ghost Corpse was one of the weaker ones. 100 skeletons meant 100 True Lord ranks. One could see how terrifying the force that set up the curse was. I'll try to gather all the resources. Zhao Feng opened his god's spiritual eye and wiped off the Skeletal Division Leader's mark before leaving his own god's eye mark on the new skeleton. The Skeletal Division Leader's heart jumped. Zhao Feng controlled the ghost corpse just like that. Shwa! Zhao Feng waved his hand and put the ghost corpse in the 10,000 Ghost Pearl. Immediately following that, Zhao Feng waved his hand and summoned 2 dark silver ghost corpses that had silver stripes on their bones. Not bad, the Skeletal Division Leader is indeed quite skilled. The 2 dark silver ghost corpses are more useful in its hands. Zhao Feng waved his hand and put away the 2 skeletons. At this point in time, the 2 dark silver skeletons had exceed normal early-stage True Lord ranks and couldn't be measured normally. My resources still aren't enough for my 100 Corpses plan. I'll get back to it when I need it. Zhao Feng soon found the solution. It was too hard to find resources on the Azure Flower continent alone, but Zhao Feng could go to the Purple Saint Ruins. The Purple Saint Ruins was a separate dimension with rich resources, and even top resources in the Azure Flower continent were normal in the Purple Saint Ruins. If it weren't for that, the 3 two-star sects wouldn't have planned so much for it. 3 days later, Zhao Feng and Master Taigon went into the forge and started to craft the simplified Wheel of Light and Darkness. This represented Zhao Feng's heart. When they crafted the Wheel of Light and Darkness this time, Zhao Feng wasn't just an assistant, he was the actual forger. This was because Tianma wasn't here. Zhao Feng's cultivation far surpassed Master Taigon's, and his Wind Lightning True Spirit Flame was more powerful when crafting. The forging process was much simpler. After all, they crafted the full version before. Your eye bloodline's control is indeed precise. Master Taigon was extremely satisfied and confident. Zhao Feng had a powerful True Spirit Flame as well as perfect control. These were vital in crafting weapons. It'll be done in about 10 days or so, just a quarter of last time. Zhao Feng's God Spiritual Eye went into precision mode as he started to refine some extra parts. While they were in the forge, Zhao Feng and Master Taigon were treated as if they were in seclusion. They weren't to be disturbed. After all, the Wheel of Light and Darkness came from the Heaven's Legacy inheritance, and its difficulty was dozens of times harder than normal items of the same grade. Within Taigon Palace. 10 days. Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi heard Zhao Feng's voice. Dai Yi smiled faintly. I've already reached out to members of the religion before we arrived at the flooding Lake City. By now, the headquarters should have received the news of Zhao Feng's return. Zhang Sanfeng nodded his head. There was nothing to worry about now. In the Canopy Great Country, the Iron Blood religion was extremely powerful, and only the Imperials could fight them. 10 days wasn't long nor short. However, Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi felt the process was extremely long. As long as Zhao Feng returned to the main headquarters, their mission would be complete. 8 days later, Wang. A humming sound came from the underground forge. Even with the strong protective array, the experts above could feel the aura of a sharp weapon. The forging should be at the last stage, and it already has such a powerful aura. Zhang Sanfeng felt his own weapon tremble uneasily. The new aura made all the weapons inside Taigon Palace hum. Inside the forge underground. We're just one step away. Zhao Feng let out a light breath as a ball made from countless parts appeared in his hand and sparkled with lightning. The ball was soon engulfed in lightning that occasionally flickered with purple, causing its strength to rise dramatically. I didn't think your flame of true spirit would be so unique and your control would be so perfect. Master Taigon felt excited. The simplified version of the Wheel of Light and Darkness was much better than expected because Zhao Feng's control and strength of his true spirit flame exceeded expectations. Time passed slowly. The aura of the ball in front of Zhao Feng started to condense and the parts started to interact. At the last critical moment, Zhao Feng suddenly sensed something and glanced toward a certain direction. However, it was the last step and Zhao Feng didn't dare to lose concentration or else everything would fail. On a mountain behind Taigon Mountain. Cho 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 cho. For figures flashed through the air and their auras made the animals nearby dead silent. These 4 figures consisted of 2 females and 2 males. The 2 females were stunning beauties, and one of them could be said to destroy countries with her looks. She wore a palace gown, and her ripe body was filled with limitless charm. Empress Qin, with your help, our rate of success will rise greatly. The other elegant female gritted her teeth as she stared in the direction Taigon Mountain with hatred. She raised her hand and an ancient green Qin and a flying sword appeared. Qin's sword Twin Desolation. She was the Qin Sword Palace Master that was severely injured by Zhao Feng before. Although she was extremely pretty and elegant, Empress Qin, who specialized in the Tao of Charm, still surpassed her. Empress Qin smiled as she turned toward the 2 males. Even without my help, the Qin Sword Palace Master and the Lu family elder and the Qin Sword Palace Elder can easily suppress Zhao Feng. With the Palace Master as support, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to fly away even if he had wings. The auras of the 2 males were stronger than the 2 women. One was the first elder of the Qin Sword Palace. He had a cold expression, silver hair, and he looked 30 to 40 years old. but his real age couldn't be estimated. However, his aura was closing in on the peak True Lord rank and surpassed the other three. The other was an old robed elder who was also at the True Lord rank. He was the first elder of the Lu family. All four of them were at the True Lord rank. Don't underestimate that Xiaofeng. With the three of us originally, we only had a 70 to 80% of defeating him, but we wouldn't be able to kill him. We wanted the flooding Lake City Lord to help, but he used seclusion as an excuse. Luckily, we met Empress Qin on the way. The Qin Sword Palace Master was calm and cold. She wasn't blinded by hatred. The humiliation Xiaofeng gave her at the flooding Lake City was carved into her bones. And when she returned to the Qin Sword Palace, she met First Elder and the Lu family First Elder sparring. The Qin Sword Palace and the Lu family's First Elders instantly allowed the Qin Sword Palace Master to see hope in getting revenge. Hence the current scene. The four True Lord ranks appeared on Taigon Mountain. The only difference was that instead of the flooding Lake City Lord who was supposed to come, it was now Empress Qin. Before I left, Master told me to follow the momentum and hopefully wipe away the problems between Xiaofeng and me. Empress Qin remembered what the sage told her. Following the momentum was fine. Empress Qin wasn't an insect that would just stand in the way of a chariot. But thinking about how Xiaofeng had kidnapped her, she just couldn't let it go. Luckily, she met these three on the way. This was a good chance to kill Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng must die. Once he meets up with the Iron Blood religion, the Imperials will be suppressed. Struggle and hesitation were soon replaced by decisiveness and killing intent. She wouldn't pass up this chance to kill Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng was one of the 5 overwhelming prodigies and had an immeasurable potential. Once he fully matured, Empress Qin couldn't imagine the future of the Imperials. My spiritual sense has already found Xiaofeng. Interesting. He has time to craft weapons. The first elder of the Qin Sword Palace mocked. Of the 4, his cultivation was the highest and he was the first to find Xiaofeng. The other 3 True Lord ranks confirmed Xiaofeng's position. Don't let him run. His eye bloodline's unique and he has probably already sensed us. The 4 True Lord ranks turned into 4 streaks of light that quickly descended toward Taigon Palace. Cho. The 4 True Lord ranks each took a respective direction as they surrounded Taigon Palace. Their True Lord rank intent made the Heaven-Earth Yuan-Chi resonate. Taigon Palace instantly broke into chaos. Xiaofeng, I don't want to kill any innocents. Come out and die. The Qin Sword Palace Master's eyes were cold as she sent her flying sword out. Boom! The building on top of the forge instantly shattered, but the sword didn't reach the forge because it was blocked by a protective array. However, even then, Xiaofeng and Master Taigon felt the forge shake. I'm just a step away from completing it. Xiaofeng's eyebrows furrowed. He had to concentrate or everything they had done might fail. Yet, these 4 True Lord ranks appeared right at this critical moment. Xiaofeng wasn't scared of the 4 True Lord ranks. He just wasn't willing for the weapon to fail now. Qin Sword Palace and the Lu family. Don't think the Iron Blood religion is scared of you. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi stood shoulder to shoulder and didn't retreat. They knew that Xiaofeng was at the last moment and they just needed to drag it out for a short while. Iron Blood religion? You think I won't kill you? The Qin Sword Palace Master snickered. Although she was wary of the Iron Blood religion, the Qin Sword Palace was a force below only the Imperials and the Iron Blood religion. Furthermore, the Qin Sword Palace was on the same side as the Imperials. Who has such big words that they want to harm the members of the Iron Blood religion? A voice filled with cold intent sounded from the other side of Taigon Mountain. In the air, a sedan with a sword and blade intertwined appeared. It was carried by 4 true human rank experts. Golden Spear Blood Dragon Sedan. The expressions of all 4 True Lord ranks changed dramatically. There were probably not many people who didn't know the Golden Spear Blood Dragon Sedan. Once the Golden Spear Blood Dragon Sedan appeared, it meant that the Deputy Patriarch of the Iron Blood religion would appear. Greetings, Deputy Patriarch. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi bowed down. They weren't surprised that the Golden Spear Blood Dragon Sedan appeared. Tianma had received news of Xiaofeng returning half a month ago and quickly headed over. He had arrived here 2 days ago but didn't appear in case it disrupted Zhaofeng. Only during this moment when the 4 true lord ranks appeared did Tianma come out. Come in. Tianma waved his hand and let Zhang Sanfeng and Dai Yi into the sedan. Wang. After that, the Golden Spear Blood Dragon sedan descended on top of the forge. Tianma, do you think you can block the 4 of us by yourself? The first elder of the Qin Sword Palace snickered. In terms of cultivation, Tianma wasn't much higher than him, and they had 4 true lord ranks, including the Qin Sword Palace Master who specialized in teamwork. Come at me then. The blood-colored hair Tianma harumphed as he stood on top of the sedan and faced the 4 true lord ranks.